He's right behind you.
All right. Hey,
Okay.
I think we figured this out. You are listening to...
Do you want to like start it officially?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll start it. I'm Avital,
Oh, I'm Jessica.
and you're listening to...
He's right behind. I was trying to do Ghostface. How do you do Ghostface? He's right.
He's right behind. Oh no, that's
Oh,
not
yeah.
it.
He's right
Yeah.
behind you.
It just sound like Jack Nicholson. Basically, that's what it is. Like,
And we're joined today by
oh,
our
are we
special
doing
guest.
this?
Yeah.
Dan Feuerriegel. Hello,
Hey,
everybody. How are you?
welcome.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. I'm really excited about this. I love horror films, so
Yes.
this is gonna be great.
We all love this movie, which is going to be really fun to
Yeah,
get into.
absolutely.
Yeah, I was excited when I found out this is what you picked because I was like,
what did
perfect.
I think? What did I pick originally? It was Devil's Rejects
Oh, yeah.
by Rob Zombie, and I was like, no. Scream will be better. Let's do
Oh,
Scream.
shit.
Oh,
But we-
good. I thought you were going to kind of out me because I was like, what else? Because I saw it in high school, and I don't want to watch it again right now.
Devil's Rejects, true story, is the first date I had with my husband.
Oh, my God.
Really?
And
So-
it did not set the tone well.
Oh, was it
That's
his
a
choice?
Valentine's episode.
Was
No,
it his
should
choice?
do.
It was both of our choice, and we both like horror movies. So I was like,
Yeah.
and it was
Had you not
so-
seen his first movie?
No,
House of a
neither
Thousand
neither
Corpses?
of us
No.
had seen it.
Oh, maybe
All right.
that's the one I saw, actually. I'm
Yeah,
not sure. I
because
think I saw
that
one.
one's pretty like what
Yes,
the
it was
hell?
fucking
But when it
scary.
was like they cut off the husband's face and made the wife wear it, we were like
Yeah, that's Devil's
uncomfortably
Rejects.
holding hands.
Okay,
We're
I
like
think
they
I
were
saw
kind of
that.
hovering around. Like this is. I don't think we're ready
And
for
you're
this
both
level.
you both kind of like reassessing like are we both kind of
yeah,
fucked up?
it
right
was
now?
rough. And then the second date
swear on
was
this?
March of. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Our second date was
yeah.
March of the Penguins, and then that was
Oh,
like
well.
where you mate for life, and it was like all these are too serious for like this casual fling.
Come on now.
Quick spoiler, because we're experimenting. We're gonna try fast and loose today.
Yep.
But it is the perfect segue that it's like usually the partner, the boyfriend, the husband. And so if you haven't seen Scream and you want to, maybe stop listening.
If you haven't seen Scream, I mean, this is probably for the younger generation. I mean, they've made that TV series
Yeah.
on Netflix, but this is an old person film from the 90s,
so
kids.
good.
But you should definitely go and watch it because it's
And I
it's
did
awesome.
watch the TV show also because I love the movie so much.
Oh,
I
really?
haven't. I
How is
saw. I watched
yeah,
the first
it was,
episode.
Well, it was on MTV, and I think Netflix has it now. But
Oh, that's right, MTV, not that.
It's not Kevin Williamson nor Wes Craven.
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
that is true. I watched the first episode, or at least the first.
I watched 2 seasons of it.
Did you? So you watched the
Wow.
whole
Guys,
thing?
I like horror stuff.
No, fair enough.
Yeah,
Where?
that
So where did your love of horror films start?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, forever.
Am I driving
Um,
this or?
That's what we want to ask you. I
Yeah.
started by watching like Twin Peaks and Are You Afraid of the Dark and American Werewolf in London.
I want to say, because we talked about it in our first episode, and
Yeah.
it didn't occur to me till later. I was listening to an interview and somebody was talking about how it started with books. And I never told you this, Jessica, but I read all the Goosebumps books.
Oh, I
Ditto.
bought all the Goosebumps
Ditto.
books and I never read them.
You do? Oh, wow.
Mhm, I
So
can't-
all three of us had
I-
them, but
I cannot
you and
remember
I read
them.
them.
I
Oh.
cannot
I just
remember
collected them.
Yeah.
They scared me, but
I
I
read
them.
the scary stories to tell in the dark. I was obsessed with those.
Okay, I didn't read those. I remember R.L. Stein also did Fear Street, and I remember.
Yep. And
as a
then
kid,
they're making
everybody-
all those into TV shows.
Oh, wow.
Like Fear Street is
As
something.
they should.
Fear Street is
Yeah.
something. I think Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Ugh,
I
I
remember
love Are You
what-
Afraid of
Are
the
You
Dark?
Afraid of the Dark? I wanted to get him on this podcast. Shout out to Ben David Grabinski, who I think is show running the new Are You Afraid of the Dark
I
series.
love
It
You
the
looks
should be on
good.
this podcast, buddy.
Yeah.
The original, like, still scares me. Like, things
Yes.
stayed with me from
Oh,
Yeah.
a couple of episodes. The one with Tia and Tamara Mowry. and
Oh,
the one
the
with
iguana.
lady. Yeah, spicy once, spicy twice, a little water, pay the price.
What's your relationship
Yes.
before? Like, where did you start?
Where did I start? Funny story. This actually goes on with in an email that you sent me, Avital, about scariest moments.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So this can kind of segue
Okay,
into
great.
that. So my love of horror films kind of started in a very negative way. It was back when I was very young. I was down at the caravan park, like Kingscliff Caravan Park, which is in Australia.
Is that like a trailer park?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
like a holiday,
Oh, okay.
place where people, take
Like
their
a Grand
caravans.
Canyon or something?
Maybe I don't
Okay.
know.
That,
Yeah.
Like
It's
a
like,
Grand
but it's by the
Canyon.
by the
Not
beach,
the Grand Canyon.
by the beach, all that sort of stuff, and
Okay.
like people like actually will retire there, and
okay.
and
Oh,
people.
nice.
It's like a big just a big summer kind of place that people go to. So anyway,
Travels
I
with Charlie.
I was with my family, and we went up to visit my grandparents because they had a caravan there as well. I walked in, and my father and my uncle were watching Alien. Now, I don't know if you would regard this as a horror film,
Yes.
but
Yes.
as soon as I walked straight in when the creature bursts out of John Hurt's. I can't remember how old I was. I might have been maybe 4, 5, and I got physically ill. I ran out of the caravan and was like, I started getting sick. And my dad sprinted after me and was like, "Are you okay?" And I think I can't really remember how I was after that. But then several years later, I was over my grandparents' place again. Common theme, grandparents. What's going on here? And they allowed us to watch Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh,
Now
so good.
it
It's
was,
so good.
and they. After the fact, they were like, well, they kept saying we want to watch Freddy Krueger, and we thought that was like a kid's thing. And we watched it, and if you remember when Nancy's going through the hallway,
Yeah.
and what was the name of her friend that was killed first? The one that, I think the one that was
The
with...
blonde one?
Yeah, the blonde one, who was with...
remember her
Was she
name.
with Johnny Depp at the time?
No. The girl with in the
Dragon
baseball
tattoo?
tee.
Yes, something like that.
I think she's got a boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
Because Johnny Depp and Nancy are kind of like, maybe they or will they, won't
Are
they?
they? I'll have to rewatch that. But
I
anyway...
hope I'm getting this all
so-
right. by the way. I'm not
Apologies
totally
to all
derailing.
the Nightmare on Elm Street fans out there. So Nancy's in the hallway having her little dream sequence at school, and the body is in a body bag, and she's like going, help me. And then the way it lies down, and then the body like gets dragged in the body bag. That image for some reason set me off again.
Did you throw up?
I threw up again.
Oh my
and so I went, and I was,
Are you
and
going to be okay during this episode?
I'll be perfectly fine.
Okay.
But it's just funny because, and then also Graveyard Shift, Stephen King kind of television 90s movie kind of got me a little bit meh. But then I wasn't able to sleep for like a week. Like it really affected me. And then kind of ever since then, as I got older and older, I just started really loving horror films. And
Did you ever get sick again?
no, never got sick again.
All right.
Very proud of that.
Yeah.
But also, there's a part of me that's so many horror films are terrible, but I'm just waiting. You just know that every now and then 1 or 2 are going to pop up that are going to be amazing. And so
Yeah.
that's my kind of, like, I'll go and see a horror film at the cinema and be like, this is going to be terrible. And it is terrible, but I still hold this kind of, optimism that's going to be great. And so that's where my affinity for horror films kind of like came in. I just started really, really loving it and really enjoying
And
it.
do you have like a top 5? So you were saying Devil's
Oh
Rejects,
man!
Scream.
All right,
You
I
don't have to.
didn't think of this. Well, obviously Scream's in there. I did love The Devil's Rejects. Exorcist obviously is an absolute classic.
Which was our last episode.
Yeah.
Ah, there you
It's
go.
great.
There's like I think it's High Tension,
Oh, I've
which
seen
is
that one.
that's just
French, right?
I think it's German.
German.
I think it's just disgustingly brutal. And Audition.
Oh, we've been
Ooh.
talking about how we need to
yes,
watch
I
that.
don't wanna- I don't wanna watch it.
It's awful.
Don't want to watch it.
But a great movie.
If you like that kind of horror, it's fantastic. Like it's pretty. It pushes the boundary.
I
I
will
don't
say,
like torture. I
if
don't
we
Yeah,
wanna-
do
well, that's
this
what it is.
movie-
It's kind of more torture porn.
Yeah.
if we actually do it, it'll be like, well, when I read on Wikipedia that this happened, because I will not watch a lot of it.
You got to. That's,
I will
maybe
not watch
that's
a
the
lot of it.
Halloween promise, which we're 27 days to Halloween.
Are you allowed to?
Yes, happy October, everybody.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. This year is going fast.
Very spooky.
Um,
Well, and Scream, for me,
Yes.
focuses on what I like about horror movies, which is I love slasher.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not super into ghosts. They scare me. I don't really like torture. I like some zombie stuff, but I love slasher movies. These are like my bread and butter. So
Yeah.
all these references.
it's
Wes
awesome.
Wes Craven, for God's
Yeah,
sake.
absolutely.
I mean,
And I don't love slasher movies, but I love Scream. And weirdly, even though it's the one I know the best of the ones we've seen, I think it scared me the most.
Yeah.
This is number 5. I think this was the scariest. I jumped at a few times, even though I knew something was coming.
Yep.
Actually, I thought of your pillar thing.
oh, from The Shining.
Yeah, Jessica was saying in The Shining, she knows that.
I know that Jack Nicholson is hiding. You've seen The Shining.
Yeah. Yes.
I know
yes.
that he's.
Well, I'd
This
say
would be a weird
The Shining
conversation.
would be up there as well. That would be another one for me.
But you know that he's hiding behind one of these 3 pillars when Scatman Crothers is coming through.
Yeah.
And I always think it's the second pillar. And so when
Like
he
always,
passes,
even though you know.
even though I know, but it's like I wait a year to watch it because I watch it like every October.
Yeah.
And so it's like it starts slow, and it takes so long that as soon as he passes the second one, I always jump, and then it's not it, and I calm down,
You're
and
like,
then he comes out, and I'm like, ugh, it got me again.
Yeah.
When Sydney's in the stalls and she hears someone saying her name, I'm like, I remember that there's going to be like a foot that comes down and another foot and the little
and then
creepy
the clothes.
dress.
Yeah.
But I'm like, which stall is it? I don't remember. I thought of you.
Yep. Oh, no, that's awesome.
Okay, so we'll just dive in very
Yeah.
quickly. See Scream if you haven't. Stop listening to this and go
Yes.
watch.
Go listen to it, then come back.
Yeah, this movie is so amazing because it was released like in December or something, and it like started at number 6, and then it like stayed in theaters for 8 months.
Wow.
Because it was
Wow, 8 months.
It was like word a month. I remember I was like pretty
Word a
young
month.
when this came out, not to brag, but I was like 11, I think. And
I was 15. I'm older.
I don't remember.
How were
I
you
guess
allowed
your
to
age.
watch it?
Oh, because I have an older sister and an older brother. So, but I just remember at the time, like, it never left theaters. Like, I wanted
Yeah.
to see it so bad, and it was just like, it was still playing, still
Yeah.
playing. So, it, like, the first weekend, it made $6 million. Overall, it made like $100 million.
Yeah. How much
Like,
did it
it's
cost to get
crazy.
made?
Wow.
Do you
That I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder.
Maybe like 30, 50.
But you don't hear about that anymore. I think The Hangover kind of did that, where it maybe didn't start as high, and then it got word of mouth did really well,
Yeah.
and
Well,
then it stayed in theaters
Well,
for
there's
a
a
long
lot
time.
there's a lot of that, I think, these days, because it's all about the massive, basically Marvel machine or the
Right.
Disney machine, and it's all about the opening weekend and da 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 da.
And they don't give them time to grow.
Yeah,
Right.
but whereas I do find that the majority of exceptional movies, just they might peter out at the box office, but then word of mouth,
Yeah.
downloads, all that sort of stuff.
They
It's
get
just
a whole new life.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and right now, if anybody hasn't seen Ready or Not,
oh, I've
please
heard
go
it's
see
really
it.
good. I've
was
heard it's really good.
amazing, and it's
I gotta
not
see
doing
it.
well at the box office, and it so deserves to do well. It was so fucking good.
Yeah.
See it.
So Scream. We're talking about Scream.
Okay. One thing that is fun to me is every time we've watched a movie so far, there's a lot of me being like, then Kevin Bacon does this, or what's her name from The Exorcist?
Linda Blair?
Linda Blair.
Oh, thank you. I meant the other one, but yeah.
Ellen
Oh,
Burstyn.
Yeah, Ellen Burstyn
she's
does this.
fantastic.
She's amazing. But Scream is the one movie where, with the exception of Henry Winkler, I refer to everybody by their character name.
You mean Principal Hembury?
He's the only one who I'm like,
yeah.
he's always Winkler
He wasn't
to
supposed
me.
to die.
Yes.
Yeah,
I know all this stuff, so I feel like
Yes,
I
yes.
should stay
We
quiet.
probably read the same Wikipedia
Well, and
page.
I've just been obsessed with this forever.
Yeah.
Did
No.
he fight to die? Was he
No,
like, I
no,
wanna
no.
die?
Harvey. Was it Harvey or
No, I think
The other one.
Bob did a lot
Bob?
for this
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I think
but,
Bob.
But anyway, there wasn't enough kills. Like
Yeah, there was like 30 pages of no death. That actually gave Kevin Williamson.
Yes,
Yeah.
Kevin Williamson.
Jeez, that would have been
Love
embarrassing. That gave him an idea to get the majority of people out of the house at the very, very end by the phone call.
The rest of the people that were still
yeah,
there.
the people that were just kind of extras and filling
By
in.
the way, that was, I think, one of the most disturbing parts of the movie to me was that they say the principal's been killed and strung up, and everyone's like,
Yeah,
let's go
and they run
see."
away.
Yes! And then I thought, Randy, I was like, he's upset. He's like, no. And then he's like, stay, watch the movie. I was like, oh, he doesn't care that there's
Well,
a
he was
human
very
being
drunk.
strung up.
He was
well,
very
he
drunk.
just doesn't want you to leave the movie.
It's
Yeah.
also at this point we've lost
Like 20 people.
classmates.
Yeah, but he doesn't know Tatum's dead yet.
No, but I mean we've
No.
lost Casey and Steve.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Were
not
they his
like
buddies?
the
And
first death.
also-
Yeah.
And no one was that upset about that one either.
Yeah.
No, not really. However,
I love Henry Winkler. I was sad with that
The
one.
beginning of Scream is one of my favorite openings
Yeah,
of
let's
a
get
horror
into
film
it. Let's
ever.
12-minute
Yes.
long
Yeah.
scene.
And I read the script as well last night.
Really?
And it's almost
Whoa.
exact word for word.
Are you trying to replace one of us on this?
No, I was just really excited about coming on and talking about Scream.
Because neither of us are this prepared.
I
Yeah.
know, this is amazing. Although, what the very first thing I thought this was interesting is before you even see Casey or any of what's going on in the house, you hear a ringing and a scream.
Yep.
Yes, and I didn't realize till the very end of the movie that that's probably supposed to be Sidney's mother because you have.
Oh, I didn't see. I didn't know that.
I felt cool when I put that together because at the very end, Gail Weathers is reporting on the scene
Yeah.
and she says, it all began over a year ago with a phone call and a scream over 911. And I was like, oh, so right before you see Drew Barrymore bite
There
it,
you go.
hear a scream and a phone
Yeah.
call.
And Drew was the reason why the movie got made.
Is that true?
She was going to be Sidney Prescott.
Whoa.
Well,
Yeah.
in the movie, the script sold for like $3 million.
Yeah, there was a bidding war.
Crazy.
Oliver Stone was actually bidding on it at one point.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so glad it wasn't him.
Yeah,
we
and
should cut that out.
no, she wanted to. I think
Well,
she
yeah,
was
you're so
signed
excited it was the Weinsteins.
No. Oh, I thought to
at
direct.
the time.
I was saying I'm so glad it was.
No,
it
he
was
wasn't directing.
Wes
I don't think he.
Craven.
I don't think he was
To
going
produce.
to direct. I think
Okay,
he was
that
going to
would've been
produce or
fine.
something like that.
Thank God it was
Um,
Harvey Weinstein.
But
No,
I
yeah,
think Drew
thank God.
Barrymore wanted to play Sidney, and then prior commitments kind of prevented that. She was like, "Can I do this?" And she was the reason why all of a sudden all these much higher profile actors were like, "Oh, really?" And that's why Wes Craven signed on, because in the past, like Scream reignited the horror genre and
Oh,
the
yeah.
slasher
This was
genre because it
huge.
was. The past 10 years were all just terrible remakes.
Well, after
and like,
this,
Friday
you
the
have,
13th, 27.
But then you have I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legends.
Yep.
It starts going down. But I will say before this is, if you haven't seen Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which is
Yes, that's true.
very...
It's kind of like
It's like
a little
it's
bit
like
of
a
a parody.
prequel to
Is
Scream.
it
Yeah.
is like a little homage kind of
It's
the
one of
horror
your favorites,
films.
right, Jessica?
Yeah.
I love New Nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
wanna
so
watch it.
good. But so it's nice to kind of see what he's doing there, and then when he partners up with Kevin Williamson,
Oh.
it's like
Yeah.
It's lethal.
Yeah.
It's so good. Like the dialogue is so smart and witty, but then it's not irritating. There are moments where I'm like, that should be annoying, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
just delightful.
It's
I
because
love
the film
Kevin
knows what it
Williamson's
is.
writing.
Live her alone.
Live her alone.
But it's
Well,
always
I mean, that's he
classic.
knows, the character knows he's telling a horrible joke.
Yes, and he's the fucking killer. It
Yeah,
turns out, you know?
And so back to the beginning. Beginning is like I thought it was Jack Nicholson was the voice for the
Oh,
longest time
yeah, no,
when I
it's Roger
first
Jackson.
watched it.
It's who?
Roger Jackson.
That's so funny. I felt like, oh, you can hear that it's Skeet Ulrich, but I guess it's not.
No, it
Is
was-
it
No,
Ulrich
no,
or
'cause-
Ulrich?
No,
Ulrich.
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 Yeah.
That's always how I said it.
But it's like it's a thing that changes your voice, so it's the same voice in every
right, but
single
I
movie.
thought I could hear.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
his
it was
voice
him the whole
underneath it.
time, and he didn't meet any of the actors.
Wow.
He was on set calling them for real, and so that's all like happening in kind of real time as they're filming.
Wow,
And they were
that's
going
cool.
to dub the voice once they went into post production, but they were like, "No, this actually sounds
That's
really
awesome.
awesome."
I
so
love
let's
the
let's
voice.
let's
I love
keep it."
that.
Yeah,
I didn't know
it's
that.
like it's brilliant. You know, what's your
Very
favorite?
cool.
What's your favorite scary movie and all that sort of stuff. And
God, I wish people would ask me that more.
what is your favorite scary movie?
I think it might be this. I
Yeah.
love.
Oh, so
I
good.
got in like a weird debate in my brain thinking about it because I was like, okay, clearly, Halloween is my favorite scary movie, but I feel like Scream
The
might be
original?
like one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
So it's like a weird thing where I'm like, Halloween is my favorite scary movie, but like somehow Scream ranks higher than it as far as like movies go. So
Right.
I don't know.
It's maybe because it was.
It's more
it's
than a
our-
horror movie.
It's
to
our
me.
formative
Yeah.
years as well.
It's a comedy.
Yeah, it's a
teen
parody
movie.
that, you know,
There's
yeah.
the lusty teens that you
God,
love.
Yeah.
I love high school culture.
It's such a American town, like
Yes.
cliched American town that they made it. Like everything's like beautiful and white picket
Yes.
fences and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, the houses
And-
are insane.
Yeah, and also super white.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's not a single.
No, I mean there's a couple, but like it's a reporter and
Oh right, I remember one reporter.
yeah,
black
one
woman.
reporter, but it's like a super.
They try to fix that in Scream too.
Yes,
Gotcha.
no, totally. But and they make a joke of it in Scream 2 as well. Like you know,
Yeah, Hallie
We're
makes
ahead
that
of
joke.
times.
yeah, all that sort of stuff. But
I love the whole franchise, guys.
Oh, it's
I wanna
fantastic.
Watch them all. Fun fact about me: I was obsessed with Sarah Michelle Gellar growing up.
Really?
That's like what made me want to be an actor. Was Buffy? I loved her so much. So I saw Scream 2 a bunch, even though now I don't remember it. And
Was
I
she
had
in
the
Scream 2?
soundtrack.
Or are you talking
Yeah,
about I Know What You
she's
Did Last
Cece.
Summer?
She's
Oh
both.
yes.
Because
Look
I
at
also
her.
loved I Know What You Did Last Summer.
What
because of
a
her.
horror whore.
Yeah, well, I had the Scream 2 soundtrack. I had a lot of it memorized, and they
Oh, really?
use a lot of the same songs in the first Scream as in the second Scream. They have that Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds
They've
song
got that,
and
The
Smooth
right-
Out for
Red
summer.
Right Hand or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
and
that one.
there's
So
another song.
good.
Another song that they play when Sidney first comes in. What is it? Don't Fear the Reaper. But it's
Oh,
like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like
Oh,
a
that's a
it's
good
a
one.
Which is
different.
also in Halloween.
And
Yeah.
also
Oh,
some
that's
good-
that's probably why they did that.
Ah.
There's so many shout outs to Halloween in this
Yeah.
movie. It's
Don't Fear the
great.
Reaper also is great foreshadowing because he's the killer.
Yeah.
It starts playing as she's getting intimate with who ends up being one of the two killers.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Okay, so when I watched it this go round, I was like really watching Billy and Stu
Oh, me too.
because spoiler, they are the murderers.
Yeah.
It's like the twist is that there's two.
Yeah.
Yes, which
First
is
of
so
all.
smart. 'cause
and
you
and one
let
has a
off the
motive,
hook.
the other one doesn't.
Mhm.
Yeah.
One of them, there was a point. Oh, when they're at the video store, Frankenstein is playing, and I
Really?
wondered, was it at the video store?
Yeah.
Yeah,
With
it's,
Randy and
he's
Yes.
alive.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, I wonder if this is also saying something because Stu is basically Frankenstein's monster. Like he's just, and at the end he even says peer pressure. Or
yeah,
whatever.
those he
love
he
it.
was
I'm
like that.
far
He's like,
too
my mom and dad are gonna be
Yes.
so mad at me.
So good.
Yeah, so I watched it last night and this morning, and then I watched it with commentary. So I'm like, I
You're
feel like I did some
prepared.
research.
Oh,
but
what
it
was
was
that like?
saying that it's great because it's Kevin Williamson and
Wes
Craven doing
Oh,
commentary together.
Yeah.
I love that we're all just geeking out. We're like, what?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
And
So cool.
they were saying that most of that stuff during that final scene where he's like, you know, you hit me with the phone, Dick,
Impros?
and my mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me. That's all improv.
Oh,
improvised.
brilliant.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely
all
brilliant.
Oh,
Matthew
yeah, you read the
Lillard.
script. Did you notice?
No,
that
I mean, I didn't read all of it.
Okay.
Actually, it was
out.
mostly I just read the beginning because I wanted to see how they did that and how that it translates to the screen. I was like, man, it's really kind of cool. And he wrote it in 3 days.
What?
Crazy.
I mean,
hate that.
it maybe he had to like workshop it afterwards, but
Right.
he went to, I think it might have been Palm Springs or something, and just kind of secluded himself for 3 days
Wow.
and wrote it for
And
3
then
days.
Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein in like 3 days. I hate those stories. I want the stories where it's like they took 20 years.
You know what? I'm still hoping that. I mean, I've got 3 days to kill. Maybe
Yeah.
I could do it.
Yeah.
Do it. You can do
All
it.
right. So I do want to talk a little bit about the Drew Barrymore scene.
Oh my god,
because
of course.
there are like a couple things that I'm so obsessed with. Which one is when he's like, "Are you making popcorn or whatever?" And she's like,
Yeah.
"Uh huh."
Uh-huh.
I love how
And that's in the script.
casual.
And that's in the
she's
script.
just, like,
Is
the
in the
way
script.
she does it
Nice.
though, she's so like
Upbeat,
just
cheerleadery.
upbeat, casual, talking to a stranger.
Yeah, and no one would do that these days.
No.
No one
Oh,
answers their
no.
phone. That's the thing.
Although it
Caller
actually
ID.
almost reminds me of that challenge that's been happening of
Oh,
like text
God.
your
Oh,
phone
text
number
your
neighbor.
neighbor.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, yes.
There've been
But
some
that's
cute stories to
that
come out of
cute
that.
stories. But also that there's no element of danger,
Right.
is there with that?
Unless they text,
yeah,
I want to know who I'm looking at.
Yeah, well,
Like,
I
that's
mean,
that part
talking
in the
to.
movie where
Oh.
like
yeah.
it's
that
just
that subtle
switches.
change
It's
of like,
so
I want to
good.
know who I'm looking at.
What'd you
What?
say?
I want to know who I'm talking
That's
to.
That's
not
not
what
what
you
you
said.
said. And then you hear the
Good.
dogs barking,
Yeah.
which when Skeet Ulrich shows up at the window, you hear the dogs barking too.
Yes, it's a brilliant opening.
No,
It
you
re-
listen, you little bitch.
I'll gut you like a fish.
It's so good and it's so scary because who doesn't have neighbors? That was one of these things when I would watch these movies where I was like, well, I'm never living somewhere secluded.
Right.
Yeah.
Because like I would just run next door when I was growing up. My neighbor next door, I'm from Texas, so my neighbor next door was like an NRA member
Oh,
and
you're
had
fine.
all these guns. And I always like when I would be scared of this movie, my mom would be like, "Well, you would just go next door and like our neighbors would protect us."
You're like,
they're-
yeah, no,
have a
good
fortress.
point. Good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
Because she just can't get away. Like even if she were
I
to take
know.
off or something in the beginning before they come into the house,
Yeah.
after the first phone call or something, like say she was able to get out,
Right.
where the fuck is she gonna go?
Right.
She can't outrun them.
What happens if she doesn't answer the phone, for argument's sake? If she just doesn't pick up?
Then
I'm
they'll
watching
break
a movie.
in
Yeah.
because
Well,
they have Steve already.
They do.
That is
I
true.
know.
But you know what I mean? It's
If
like
she didn't
there's
answer, would they
that's-
be like, when is she gonna pick
I mean,
up?
she would answer though, because like, what if it's mum?
Right.
what
Because
if it's Steve?
this isn't
Yeah.
this isn't now where you can screen and like I'm not responding to Avital.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna turn my read receipts off.
Right. Right. It's a
So now I
different
can tell
time.
that I
Well,
read
and
it.
we don't know if they did that to Maureen Prescott. We don't know if they were on the phone call
Right.
with her.
We don't know if they wore the mask. We
no.
don't know what they did.
Oh yeah, and
But I
have
think
a
it was
lot of
just- it was
questions
just
about
Billy.
that,
I think
about
it was
the
just
Maureen
Billy who
Prescott
did that.
murder.
Yeah, I want to know
I
how he
think-
like roped Stu in eventually.
Yeah, because I think Billy was the one that just
On his
killed
own.
the mother.
It's probably true.
No,
Also-
because they say we put her out of her misery.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, because
I stand corrected.
Stu backs him up and is like, because let's face it, your mom's no Sharon Stone.
Yeah, your mom's no Sharon Stone. Yeah.
In the beginning with, I didn't put this together till now, but, you know, the motive being, well, your mom was a whore and she slept with everyone, blah, blah, blah.
No.
They sort of have that moment of slut-shaming Drew Barrymore, too, where it's like, do you have a boyfriend? And she's
Yeah.
like, no.
No.
Oh, you're going to die, bitch, pretending you're single when you've got a man?
Yeah, yeah.
Punishment.
Yeah,
I
I
thought
thought
we were
you
gonna
said
go
you
out.
didn't have a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna go out.
Yeah, it's so good. Also, these false promises, like in funny games, I hate that. That always makes me so scared. Where it's like, if you get this right, we won't kill you. Or like in
Yes.
funny games, like recite a prayer. Well, now recite it backwards. Like you know that they're just gonna,
Yeah.
they're gonna
Well-
kill
They're,
you no
they're
matter
just
what.
taunted. They're like cats. They're just cats that are
Yes.
playing with their
Mice.
their mice and just
But
like.
also, we don't know that at first, though, because he says, like, if you...
And she does get it
if you
wrong.
answer the question...
Right.
Yeah, in fairness, she does fuck up that
But
question.
then he says that was a practice round.
No, practice round was the
Was-
one she got correct.
Yes.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So,
the
like-
Yes, I get you.
But he
If
said
she
that
got that wrong, then
before-
she would have died.
Exactly.
Bef-
I
I
get
think
you, yeah.
before she gets it right, though, he says this is a practice. But we find out at the
I
end...
think they're going to kill her no matter what. And at
Oh,
the end,
absolutely.
they say as much.
That's what I'm saying. Like, at the end, Stu says that. He
Yeah.
says, you answer right, you die. You
Die.
answer wrong, you die.
You die. Yeah. No,
Has
that's
there
true.
ever been a serial killer who's like, well, you got those questions right, so I guess I just got to walk away?
Well, it's been fun. Moving on.
I want to say this movie made me not want to have this podcast because
What?
because I'm like, if anybody ever's like, you like scary movies, I want to be like, no, I don't like them. Don't hurt me. I don't even watch scary movies. But now they'll know.
Whereas I'll be like, thank God somebody wants to hear about this. Yes. Okay, so when I was
Yes.
5.
No, I mean like if it's a murderer. But
If
you're
it's
not
a
that
murderer,
scared of
that's
murderers.
the only way that I'm going to get out of this alive. That's all I know about.
But what if I just avoid it? No, I don't like
I-
scary movies. I'm not playing this game. Goodbye.
I think an interesting thing would be, would the killers of Scream, would they be able to do that right now in today's day and age?
Yes.
How?
I mean, there are some...
I mean, maybe, but
Wait,
I'm
do
curious.
do what?
Like, as in, like, how they do the, like,
The
their motive and
hello.
the
Have
way.
you seen Scream 4?
I have.
Then yeah, that's only a few years old.
Yeah, but technology changes so much.
And
Yeah,
that
no,
one, they're
that's true.
like texting. They got their what are those where they slide up?
Yeah.
But to your point,
They
sorry.
slide up.
Yeah, I don't know technology, guys. It's a real handicap. I do know scary movies. To your point, what if you don't want to play? Have you met Sidney Prescott? Because Sidney Prescott says she doesn't like scary movies.
Oh, yeah, she does. You're
She's
right.
not going to play their game.
I know.
And
it
also,
doesn't
is
save
Bill
her.
like? But they weren't going to kill her.
I think they were.
Really?
That
It-
first
like,
time?
I
well,
think
don't
they
know.
were.
Were they? I mean, that's kind of like.
Yeah, I feel like in that scene, I think they were trying to kill her, and they weren't expecting her to fight back so much.
I think
I
to
ju-
like the movie as much as I do, I have to think that they weren't going to do it because their whole thing with her dad and making
Yeah,
it look
kidnapping
like
the
he
dad,
went crazy.
all that sort of stuff.
well, they'd
and-
already kidnapped him by that point.
I know,
Yeah,
but they
true.
were going to make it like, oh, he went crazy in this house and killed everybody.
I mean, that could have been like on the fly, but
Right.
they were so easily able to get.
They could have killed. I mean, Billy definitely could have killed her in that moment.
Yeah, I just kind of think
Well,
like
she'd
all of a
already
sudden they
called
became
911.
like really horrible, like
Yeah.
on the computer, by the way.
Never
I
make it
love
in
that.
time.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, they do come really
I know
fast.
they do.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, and like in the spoof, the Wayne's
movie?
Brothers scary movie, it's like white woman in trouble, and then they come like almost immediately. But that was going to be the original title, Scary Movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they changed it
And they
during
changed it like
production,
almost
and then
towards the end. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
that's
amazing.
why after they decided to change it, they added in that line where he's like, "It's a scream,
It's a scream, baby. It's a scream.
Guys, I just heard the commentary. Can you tell? Can you tell?
It's a scream, baby. So we've gotten past Drew Barrymore.
God, that
being
Drew
murdered.
Barrymore scene though, it's so sad. I would say it's the saddest death in the movie. If we're
Because
gonna-
you
if
see
we're gonna
her
rank one.
mom react.
It's the
Yeah. Not
And her
not my
screaming,
baby girl. Not my baby girl.
she's so close
Yes.
to her parents before that first stab.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Because they're parking the car and she
Yeah.
That's
it's
also
like the
my
timing
recurring
is
nightmare
so
is that like that, and I think it started with Scream where I'm trying to scream and like my vocal cords are cut or I'm stabbed in the lung or whatever it is, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
and no one can hear me. Like so, as she's doing that, she's just trying to scream and she
Yeah.
can't. I'm like, oh,
And
I've
the
lived
woman
this
who
in my
plays her
dreams.
mother, that scene, she nails it.
She's so
Yeah.
It's like she should have come back and done more because her acting is so good. She's
Yeah,
like,
it's like
it
not
just
my baby
breaks
girl,
your
not my
heart.
baby girl. But also as well,
Ugh.
it's the most invested that we've gotten in the death.
Yeah.
Like we had, as you said, like a whole 12 minutes.
with her.
Also,
with
her
her.
body hanging in the tree and the way the camera moves up to it is
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, and there's
That
that
shot is
steam
so
coming
scary.
off of
Oh,
like
the guts.
Her,
Yeah, because
Oh.
it's a cold night. Oh, that's
Ugh.
brutal.
It's so scary.
I want to start this fun game.
Uh-huh.
Uh-oh.
So we know the killers are Billy and Stu.
Yes.
That scene, are Billy and Stu both there doing it, or do you just think it's Billy?
I think it's both of them.
I think both of them. One's on the phone, one's...
Because we know that Billy doesn't have an alibi, and
Stu was with
Tatum all night.
all
or
night.
she was covering for him.
Or do you think Tatum's idea of all night is flexible?
Right. Maybe.
You know, like, because she's just like a fucking 17-year-old who's
Also,
like, he
maybe-
was with me all night. What does that mean? Like an hour?
Right. Or like,
Yeah.
maybe he slept over.
I think
so
maybe
he spent the
she
night with
could
me.
think like he was with her all night when he
Yeah.
wasn't.
'Cause
Yeah.
There's a moment where
I mean, we don't know. Let's
Because
ask Kevin.
I agree also. I feel like
they were both there.
they were both there because it's such a high stakes
Yeah, and also so much like you've got like the doorbell, and then you've got the smashing of the.
And
back
I feel like it would
window.
take
Back window.
two of
Propping
them
up
to.
Steve.
I feel like
Yeah.
two of them would have to seduce Steve.
Yeah.
Subdue.
Well, maybe they did seduce Steve. You never know.
Well, and I love we get the motive later because it's like, why the fuck did they hurt these people? And then we get that nice little throwaway line of like, didn't you used to date Casey?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
And it's like, no, didn't she dump you for Steve? No, you
No.
said you dumped her for me. And
so
it's like,
good.
oh.
I love
Yes.
that.
No, it's like there is a lot of really subtle little things in there. Like one of the first things where Casey is like, what's your favorite scary movie? Oh, Nightmare on Elm Street. Is that the one where the guy had knives for fingers? Oh, I like that. Yeah, the first one was great, but the rest sucked. And,
That's so great.
Wes Craven's kind of like, yeah, whatever. It's
Yeah.
so self-aware. That's
Yeah.
that's why it was so popular. I think it was so self-aware.
Oh,
it was
it's
a horror
amazing.
movie within a horror film.
And he directed one of those other ones.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's making fun of himself,
Yeah.
which is great. I love
and
that.
And
it-
he didn't even write that part. He said
Like-
he wanted to take it out.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
because he was like, it makes me feel like people think that I put it in there.
Oh, that's so
Ah.
funny.
It was
Yeah.
already in there.
But
But
that's
you're
why
like, oh, you
people
have a good
love.
sense
That's
of
that's why
humor.
people
Yeah.
would love Wes leaving it in. Like it's
Yeah.
like, oh, you're
So
awesome,
good.
dude. Like it's what do they call it when a film's commenting on itself? What is it?
It's very
Meta?
self-referential.
Meta. Yeah. Is it? Would you call it meta?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very meta.
Well, and it's also like, this is a movie unlike any other movie because the characters have seen scary movies.
Yeah. It's
So
a horror
it's-
film inside a horror film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's, you can watch these scary movies and be like,
It also-
I know where we're going with this. I know da-da-da, it's so stupid. But it's like, no, these characters have the same knowledge that we have.
But it also
Yeah.
breaks the rules.
Oh, yeah.
That
Oh,
was
yeah,
the
I
thing.
love it. Sets
And-
up the rules to break them.
It does, and we have the rules right here.
Ooh,
I
yeah.
mean, there's only 3 that Randy says. Like, so no
and then
sex.
they say others throughout, too.
Yeah. So obviously, number 1, no sex. So
No.
obviously, Sidney Prescott.
Only
Sex-
for the women. Guys don't have to be virgins,
Yeah,
but girls
like-
do.
Well, guys don't usually survive horror movies.
yeah.
Because it's like all about the
Randy
final
does.
girl.
Do you think he's a virgin?
Yeah, he does
Yes.
say. He
Yeah.
says, I've never been so happy to be a virgin in my life.
Oh,
That is
Oh my God, you
actually
guys.
that is true.
This
I
is-
that
This
didn't
is so
that
sad how
didn't
much
even
I just know about
that
the
didn't even click with
dialogue.
me that the majority of horror films it's the women
It's
who
a final girl situation.
survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's why it's arguably
Girl
feminist.
power.
Yeah.
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 I love these movies. Yeah,
That's
sex
great.
equals death, he says.
Mhm.
That actually is a pretty interesting conversation. Like horror films, feminist.
Yeah. That's
Have you
Yeah,
had
we
that
say yes.
conversation?
Mhm.
Really?
Yeah.
Some people argue that they're misogynist, but
I
it
think
is
some
usually...
I think some can be. I mean, like it's anything. Sure, some are misogynist.
Well, a lot of
but-
them are, yeah. I guess there's the misogyny with like there's always that girl that gets her breasts out and
Yeah.
has sex and all that sort of stuff for the
Well, and
guys.
sex equals death is very misogynistic.
Yes.
That is
But it
true. But
addresses
the guy
it,
dies
so
as well,
that's
doesn't he?
Yes, usually.
Yeah.
But it's usually in that situation they're talking about a girl's virginity.
Yeah.
That's true.
I wonder
And-
if Dewey's
And the
a virgin
purity.
too. He could be.
Yeah, he
Because
could
he
be.
just keeps surviving, doesn't
Yeah.
he? He becomes like, what was he? He gets
Well, he was
gets
supposed
stabbed
to
in the
die.
nerves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
That
Like,
was
for
supposed
real?
to be. Yeah, that's why we don't see him until the very end, and then like during test screenings,
They were like, oh, we love Dewey.
people really like Dewey. So
Really?
then you
Oh,
just
yeah,
see
he's
him at the
lovable.
stretcher.
Yeah, and I like how Scary Movie Tatum calls him Doofus in one of the scenes, and then of course in the Scary Movie, special officer Doofy and all that sort of stuff. Who, funnily enough, the guy that plays Doofy in Scary Movie appears in Devil's Rejects.
Oh, fun.
Yes.
All tied together.
One line I want to acknowledge before moving past the Drew Barrymore opening is I want to see what your insides look like.
Like,
Oh, that line
to see
scares me
what
so much,
your
but it's also
insides look
weirdly kind of
like.
sexual, which I find interesting.
Ooh.
given-
You know what? That one doesn't scare me as much as I want to know who I'm looking at.
Yeah,
Oh, they
because
both
that's
scare
so
me.
subtle.
To me, it feels like the kind of thing where like someone's having phone sex and they're like, "I'm saying things that I think
Send
are
me
sexy."
nudes.
Like, yeah.
To me, it's like a visceral reaction.
Oh, to me,
Yeah.
it's like
Feel it,
this
I
is
see it.
this
Yeah.
is me like trying to be scary. I want to see what your
I
insides
think
look like.
I'm like picturing
like
my own
I
guts.
can make arguments for both of those.
I'm like, that was probably Billy saying that.
Yeah.
Because Stu is so much cleverer.
Yes, absolutely. Like, whenever they say, I remember my acting teacher would always say, when it comes to scenes, if you start off yelling straight away, you've already kind of lost
Right.
Mm-hmm.
where.
You need something
Like,
to build.
Yeah, exactly.
Blown your load.
Exactly. You've just unleashed everywhere,
Where
and
you
you have
gonna
to clean it up.
Mm-hmm.
And that line, the I want to see what your inside, and it is. It's right towards the end where she's just like she drops it and runs and tries to lock up everything and look around. Whereas the I want to see who I'm looking at is the subtle kind of slow build. And I also think I like, by my comment before of would you be able to do that now, there's something about older horror films where I feel people are more alone.
Yes, secluded.
Whereas now we've got so much technology where, like, you know, Find My Phone, all that sort of stuff, that you can be found pretty quickly.
But I also feel like technology nowadays isolates us from
well, yeah,
other
absolutely.
people.
But if you're like, oh shit, you could just, there's applications where you can live stream.
That's true, but
straight
a killer
away.
could also take advantage of that, of like posting on your Instagram. So you're not getting back to anyone, but they're like, well, she posted. She must be fine.
She's smiling.
Yeah, exactly. You could exploit it differently, but
That
you
is
make
true.
a good
I mean,
point.
like, someone would have to, like, I dare say, like, someone would be very, very clever, like, writing out, like, a new kind of horror film to kind of
yeah, to
reignite.
paraphrase, it's like technology doesn't make killers; it will just make them more creative.
What is it?
Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
Yes,
It's a great
there we
line.
go.
It's
Sorry if
such a
I was
good
yelling
line.
into people's ears.
I want to say very quickly, because it makes me happy, that I worked at Franklin and Company. I was a hostess for years. I would seat people and then occasionally take to-go orders over the phone. Most people don't tip on to-go orders. Having done this, I always do, even if it's just $1 or $2. It's like, oh, that's nice, because I did take the time and I had to put your order in the machine and whatever, give me $1, The only time I got like a sweet tip on a to-go order was Nev Campbell, and she came in and picked it up and she tipped me so well, and I was like, I just like
the
you
best,
even
babe.
more than I already
She is
did.
so
I
good
love her.
in this movie.
She's so fucking good in this.
She's
Yeah.
so good.
Her acting is crazy good.
As she's really
she's
trying
nice.
to overcome this like trauma of her mother dying
Yeah.
and everyone talking about how her mother's a slut and like
Yeah.
trying to reconcile that. She's hitting so many emotions.
She is
Especially and it being a year to the date when all of a sudden all these murders
Oh my
start
God,
happening.
people
and
were
then Billy
telling
being like,
her to
"It's
get
been a
over
year.
it."
Yeah, get over it.
What
My
are you
mom left
talking
too.
about? Oh, that scene.
Oh my God, that
crazy.
scene to me is like red flag city. Like
Oh, yeah.
if
Yeah.
you're dating somebody and
That's
they're
the
like,
least
"You should
likable
get
he is.
over it."
Another cool little bit of trivia. Skeet was cast because he looks like a young Johnny Depp.
Oh,
You know what?
interesting.
That's actually not true.
Really?
Because I listened to the commentary and Wes Craven said, a lot of people say
Oh.
that Skeet was cast
mean
because he looked
Wikipedia
like Johnny
lied to
Depp. And he said, and I never thought he looked like Johnny Depp, so I don't know where that
I
came
think he
from.
does. As soon as I read
No,
that,
but
I looked
Skeet-
at it and I was like,
but I mean, but Wes Craven
Wes
said
Craven.
that
Ah.
in the commentary.
Very interesting.
Interesting.
Also,
I think he does. I think he looks
does
like
too.
a
Oh
yeah,
yeah, for sure.
we'll have to post it. I have a picture with Skeet, who I loved as a teenager because, I mean,
Who
he's so
didn't
dreamy.
love
Oh,
Skeet?
he's
Yes.
so hot.
I loved him.
Oops.
That scared me. I saw
Watch
him.
out.
Yeah, he's right behind you.
Yeah.
There was like a party that I went to. He was there. Actually, I've seen him twice. The first time I didn't talk to him, and then the second time I was like, I'm not missing this opportunity. And my boyfriend's niece loves Riverdale, and I know he's on it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love
So I
Riverdale
kind of was
also.
like, can I get a picture with you for my boyfriend's niece? She loves Riverdale. And he was like, oh, sure. And then was like, can she be in it too? And I was like, okay.
Oh no,
I
she's
guess.
not here.
No, I was pointing to this other girl. I was like, okay. So I get a picture with, like, in my mind, Skeet Ulrich and some nobody, and I guess she's like a star of Riverdale.
Did
who is
did you
it?
edit
I
out?
don't know, but Ariel, the niece, was like, "Oh my God, how did you meet her?" I was like, "I don't know who that is."
What does she
color
look like?
hair?
I'll post it. I don't remember. Brown?
Okay.
I mean, maybe she's Latina.
Oh, okay, then I know who it is.
But I said
Yeah.
to him,
It's
I was like,
Veronica.
"I loved you." In I was like, "I loved you in The Craft and Scream," and he kind of had like no reaction. I was like, "And Touch,"
What?
and he was like, "Oh, no one's seen Touch." I was like, in my mind, I'm like, I watched it because of you.
I guess that's an interesting thing. Like people
Yeah.
going, "Oh my God, you were awesome in Scream," and you're like, "Yeah, I did that when I was like, what?
Well, he did
Yeah.
Touch before Scream.
Did he?"
Yes, also on the commentary.
Oh,
I sound
funny.
like the biggest nerd.
I love it.
No,
yeah,
it's good. It's good
No,
content
he
for
wasn't
the
rude.
podcast.
Also, to clarify, he wasn't like, I just
Oh.
mean he didn't seem so
Well, he's heard it so
surprised.
much,
Yes,
yeah.
but when I said Touch, he was like, no one saw that movie.
For Drew Barrymore, though, before we leave that,
Yes.
some of the rules come out. More rules come out during
Oh, yeah.
that scene because she says who's there, and he says you should
Oh, yeah,
never
you
say
should never
who's
say
there.
who's there. Or
Yes.
Haven't
You
you,
should-
ever seen a scary movie?
Yeah, or you should
Yeah.
go and you should like go and investigate a strange noise
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
so early on in the movie. So
Very
good.
self-aware, very much.
We- never
and
ask who's there.
I think the fact that it was self-aware helps the audience go along for the ride as well.
Yeah.
Because they feel like they're a part. They're like, oh, come on. Oh, my God, that's so right. Like, you know, whenever they go, oh, no, that wouldn't happen. Come on, run. And then they make comment of it, and you know that you're like, oh, shit, that's great.
Some blonde girl's always running up the stairs when she should be running out the front door. It's insulting.
Yeah.
And then you see why that she has to go up the stairs.
Yeah, exactly.
But I like that she tries to go through the front door.
I know, and she was smart a second ago and locked it. It was like she pulls that lock, and you're like, good job. Oh, thank God.
And
then
little,
it's like,
the little subtle thing in the beginning when the father comes into the bedroom and the doorknobs clashing together, so that saves her. Foreshadowing as well.
Totally.
It's a nice little setup.
I mean, this movie is like so tightly made that everything pays off in some way or another.
Exactly. There's a lot of red herrings in it as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and they even tell you.
Yeah.
Randy says her dad's a red herring. I'm telling you, the killer is Billy.
It's the boyfriend.
Yeah. Dad's a red herring. Henry Winkler was a red herring.
You know who I thought it was the first time I saw this movie?
Who?
When I was 11. And I was like, I remember watching
Kaiser
this with my
Soze.
sister. And I was like, I'm going to outsmart her. I'm going to get the killer. So there's one red herring thing that they do, which is the boots.
The sheriff.
The sheriff is who I thought it was, because
Yeah.
they have that scene where they specifically show his
the
boots.
boots,
And
yeah.
I fell for it hook, line, and
Wait,
sinker.
did I miss something when Dewey says to him, I thought you quit? Did we see?
Smoking.
Yeah.
Oh, I was dumb. I was like, why? When did he quit the force?
No,
Why is he still here?
Yeah.
He's still our sheriff.
I'm
like,
obsessed
what?
with people smoking in movies, so
That's
I
great.
was on to
It
it.
took me a second. I was like,
No,
I mean,
like
took
that.
me till now,
You know,
till you
that was
said
an
it.
awesome moment. I love how Henry Winkler, when he's talking to Sidney Prescott, like he
Oh.
grabs her, like
Touches
just
her
touches her, and that's
face.
the sheriff looks at that, and just that little subtle
What do you
moment.
make of that?
So gross.
Really? I thought it was so sweet.
Oh, no, because then the sheriff and Dewey both make faces like the principal's being inappropriate again.
Oh, interesting. I thought it was just empathy for her having lost her mom.
Hashtag me too.
Yes.
I was except
Well, I mean,
didn't
it could
think
be
so.
it could be all of that. I
Yeah.
think that was done obviously so the sheriff,
I missed
so
the
it could
looks.
set up that is the
Yeah,
principal.
there's something off about the
Right.
Is the
principal.
principal, and you know.
I think it's only because it's Henry Winkler that I was like, oh,
That's
how
fine.
sweet.
Oh, no,
The
I
Fonz
was like-
wouldn't do that.
Oh, don't touch her.
The Fonz would do.
touch her.
And then
Like, he
also
loves her. He's trying to keep her safe.
a Nightmare on Elm Street reference when
Yes.
the principal's Freddie. He's like, sorry,
Yes.
Fred. You know,
And
and
that's
he's
Wes-
dressed.
in the sweater.
And that's Wes Craven.
Is that Wes
Yeah.
Craven? I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
I
That's
saw that.
awesome.
Well, and the sheriff in this was the sheriff in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh my
cool.
God. Oh man, you know so much more.
You know what else is terrifying?
Guys, this is all I know in life. Don't ask me to do math.
All right then.
I'm also no math. What scares me so
Calculators. Why we need to know now?
Seriously.
Calculators.
much. Oh my god.
Which is literally what I said to my teachers in 7th grade and
Yeah.
was not taken well.
There's
A
line-
Facebook algorithm will do it for us.
It's true.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so scary that even when they're instituting a curfew or it's like, go straight home, don't talk to strangers. It's like it happens at your home.
Yeah.
There's not a safe place to go. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
scary.
Well, and what's really scary about this movie is that the killer is somebody you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a small town.
A couple of people, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, who's
Yes.
behind the mask? It could be anybody.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is like the scene, jumping all around, but the scene at the end where Randy's like, it's Stu, and Stu's like, it's Randy, and she's like, fuck you both.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, who knows who the
Right.
fuck it is? It could be
Right.
either of these. It could have been fucking both of them.
Right.
That is true.
That is totally true.
That is very true.
Oh,
So good.
It's so
It's-
good.
There's so much you can unpack with this. Where are we now? We've just finished Casey dying, right?
Oh yeah, there's so many good scary
There's
lines
so
in the
much.
Casey dying one, because he also goes when she's like, I've got a boyfriend and he's big and
And
he's
he's
gonna
strong.
kick
He
you.
plays football.
And then he goes, his name wouldn't
Would be
Steve.
Steve, would it?
Oh, and you just see like the light
Her face
drain
like,
out of
how
her.
do you know his name?
Yes. Oh, it's so
Turn
good.
Turn on the patio lights.
When she-
Again.
I knew it was coming.
Again.
But the
Yes.
first time she turns it on and he's not there, I'm
Yeah.
like, how do they do it? So you don't hear it and it's so smooth.
That's
And
fun.
every time I watch this, I have like pool envy, because it's like
It's
the
a
pool
nice
looks
house.
so nice and there's like
Yes.
steam coming off, and every time I'm like, I want a pool.
I want a pool like that. And
Yeah.
a little, was it swing? Just
Oh, so good.
Oh.
So we've introduced Sidney,
She's in her nightgown.
In her
He makes fun
nightgown.
of her. He's like, you sleep in this? She's like, yes, I sleep
and then they
in
do the
this.
whole PG-13.
Oh,
and,
I remember that line so
Yeah,
well, even though
that
it's been
kind of thing.
years.
And
Would
she
you
shows her
settle for
boobs.
PG-13? Oh, it's so good.
So
And
is boobs PG-13?
That's
Or is
rated
it?
R.
Or is it?
Well, it's
or
over
is
the
it?
boobs.
Or is it like her doing it without you seeing it? That's PG-13.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
Without
nudity.
us seeing it, him seeing it, I think it's R.
Well, he doesn't
Yeah.
get to. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't see anything.
No. But
So
he's
that
getting
was
an
for
R rating.
us.
Yeah, it's a wink to the
That was
audience.
for us.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
Interesting.
And it's established that Sidney's dad will be going out of town.
Yes.
That is true.
I was like, oh no.
Which, when you like watch this a million times, like I have, there is a point where you're like, I'm sorry, but he's going out of town
The
weekend of the first
anniversary?
anniversary of her
Yeah.
mother's death. He's going to leave her alone.
That is
Yeah.
true.
And like
I didn't
he
think
never
of
says anything like, I know this is going to be a hard weekend.
As someone
Yeah.
with a dad, that totally checks out to me. As someone who, we'll get real deep and personal here, but my biological mom died as a baby. My dad remarried, and he never talks to me about it. So when it's her birthday, I don't know the anniversary of her death, but on her birthday, not a conversation. Anyway, so that to me feels very real. An
Yeah.
unavailable dad who doesn't know how to communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
And
makes
maybe that's
sense.
why he was going away as well. He was like,
Yeah,
I can't
actually.
deal with this.
I
I mean,
like
he was
that.
going
Well,
to an expo or something
Well,
like
I
he
that.
like that.
he
Yeah.
takes
It's
a
like
lot
a-
of business trips. They say that later. Of like,
Yeah.
maybe that's why your mom was having affairs because your dad
Right.
travels a lot.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
But also, it might have been just like a bonus for him. Like, I have this business thing, silver lining. I don't have to talk to you around the 1 year mark.
No, I'll just
absolutely.
leave you alone for the weekend.
Oh.
Yeah, nothing will go wrong.
Also, when she hears the sound and she goes to the window to look,
Yeah.
I know you're on the same page with me. Like, I'm not going to go look out the window. What I would
No.
do,
Oh, would you?
no, I would not.
No?
What I would do, and I have done
Oh,
this.
I would call my husband.
I've done
you
this.
hear
But your husband's just left
Did you hear
left
that?
for like the weekend.
Yeah, if he's not around.
Yeah.
When I'm by myself, what I've done is I go to shut it very quickly, but I act like I'm not spooked because I want to be like, okay, in case they're watching, I want them to know I didn't see anything. I'm not scared. I'm not aware you're there. It's not too late to change your mind. If you wanted to kill me, I don't know that it's happening. I'm just going to real quick shut this window, turn around, walk out, and then I will go.
I
Now,
would just-
you're braver than me because I would never in my fucking life have a window be open.
Or you
Never.
go to the window and you've got a gun in your hand. You just like randomly kind of like, oh, excuse me, boom,
Yeah.
just shut it down.
Or pretend to be on the phone. Oh, see you in 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, yeah. How many of you coming over? 10. Oh, that's
Whoa.
fantastic. Where are we next? So then they
Well,
find out everything
yeah,
that's
we
going
cut
on. We
to
are
it's all
introduced
hell
to
loose.
basically Tatum. We're
Weathers.
introduced to not Carl Weathers.
Oh,
Gail Weathers.
You know what's
Gail
funny?
Weathers.
I wrote that down and I looked up, well, not Carl Weathers. I
Yeah.
looked up Bill Withers, Gail Weathers to see if anything came up. Nothing came up.
Nothing came up.
But I checked.
I like
Bill
how
Withers.
Courtney Cox had to pitch hard to get that role.
Did she?
Yeah, because she wanted to do something that was different to her Monica on Friends.
Right,
She was
right.
like, I want to play the bitch, I want to play the bitch, I want to play the bitch. And they're like,
she's great.
And then finally it kind of all happened. It was kind of cool seeing how many people, ever since Drew Barrymore signed on, how many people were really trying hard to get on that film.
Yeah, it's a
Well,
great
but there's a
script,
lot of
too.
people that didn't want to do it.
Yeah,
Who
true.
didn't want to do it.
Molly Ringwald passed.
On which part?
They want her to play Sidney.
Are she and Nev Campbell like the same age?
No, she said, I don't still want to play a teenager. I'm
Right.
in my late 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Reese Witherspoon turned it down.
Okay.
Okay.
She'd already done Fear.
Yeah.
I love Tatum's outfit when we meet her.
I
Yeah.
love all of Tatum's
Yeah,
outfits.
Yeah,
she's
it's
a little
true.
sex bot in that.
Oh my god.
Rose McGowan, this and Jawbreaker, like, she's so fucking good.
This is peak. I'd say Rose McGowan, Nev Campbell, and Drew Barrymore. This is like all of them at their best.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're all good in a lot of other things, too, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I
But
just
they're
mean
so...
very nice to look at in this movie.
Yes, they're all
Like
gorgeous.
they're so cool and
Yeah.
together and Drew
I love all
Barrymore's
the
hair
clothes,
is
but
so
it's
cool.
like the great 90s clothes.
Yeah, exactly.
Which
That's
is
why it's
coming
peak
back.
for me.
Yes.
90s
If you
is
go to
coming
Urban
back.
Outfitters,
Oh
it
my
is
God.
a trip.
A friend of mine was doing a red carpet, and the outfit that they put her in at first had like shoulder pads and all this sort of stuff. And we
Oh,
were like,
yeah.
and she's like, what the fuck? And her husband's going,
The 80s are back also.
It's all back.
like, that's stuff that I saw girls wearing like early 90s. And now I'm going, "Wait, this is what girls were wearing when I was a teenager. What's
Yeah.
going on?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
if you
it's
go
so
to Urban
weird.
Outfitters right now, it's like very Pearl Jam flannel, like baby doll dresses.
Oh,
Like,
this just
it's
makes me
early
so
90s.
happy. This just
Yeah.
makes me so happy. I loved the 90s.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's
I'm
part
just
of why I
old.
love this movie so much. It's
Yeah.
like this is my time period.
I love it.
Exactly.
Like-
There's our formative years. That's why I really love this movie.
Yeah, I love all the clothes. I don't love Sydney's clothes necessarily. She's got
she's supposed to be
got
kind
some
of like-
real. Her jeans aren't great fitting.
Is it the hip jeans? Is she wearing the hip?
Yeah.
Hip jeans? Hip,
They're like very mom.
I love
well, I think
that
she's
she
supposed to
pulls
be
it
very
off.
kind of plain.
She's the
Sarah Plain and
innocent.
tall.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's the final girl. She's
But
the
I want
virgin.
it. I'm like, you look so good in just that plain gray sweater. Like,
Yeah.
you're just so effortlessly cool.
No, I have a dream to dress as Tatum for Halloween in the like tie-dyed, like the
Ooh,
kind
yeah,
of like there's like
yeah.
a swirl kind of going
And
on.
you got the little.
Now I have
little
dressed
piggy tails.
as two of these characters for Halloween in the
Oh,
past.
really?
Which ones?
Yes, I did a couple's costume with my husband, and we went as Billy and Sid.
That's great.
And
Did
then,
anybody know what you were dressed as?
No.
You're like, oh, why
disappointing.
you didn't dress up in costume? What's going on?
They knew that because my husband wore a wig because he's blonde, so they knew that he was somebody.
Yeah.
But they couldn't put it together.
He needs to have the little bangs coming down and
Yeah.
He
and
had
the
it.
middle
He
part.
had
The
it.
middle part.
And he had blood all over his shirt.
Yeah.
And then last year I was Casey. And I carried around, I still have a landline, so I carried around my portable phone.
Oh, that's great. You got to post pictures with this one.
Oh, yeah, I have
Yeah,
pictures.
absolutely.
So I
Absolutely.
still dream of Tatum. It's like hard to find clothes like hers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you
Because
probably
they're
can
so
now.
distinct.
Yeah.
Speaking of 90s clothes, when they're all around the fountain, I was like, this looks like a scene out of Clueless. And I think it might have been a nod to Clueless.
Yeah, it's like a very nice.
That
school.
scene-
Yes.
The scene at the fountain is... Oh, I hit the mic, sorry. The scene at the
couldn't hear it.
fountain is so good when you rewatch this movie.
It's so good.
Because it's so obvious who the killers are in that scene. And,
Yeah.
like, the first time you watch it, it doesn't register at all.
Yeah. Well, Billy's
then the
always
second
so like,
time-
moody and
yeah,
kind of
Billy's
like.
like
"Mrr."
reprimanding him, so
Yeah.
he's kind of hiding it. He's
Well,
going like,
But
why
Stu,
would you
like,
say that?
Stu goes, no, I didn't kill anybody. Like, he throws it out there later when they've already moved on from the
Right,
conversation.
right.
He's
Yeah.
like, I didn't kill anybody. And Billy's like,
Well, maybe
no
that-
one said you did. Kind of like,
yeah, yeah.
shut the fuck up, dude.
Yeah.
And then when you rewatch it, it's so scary. And then what I noticed on this viewing, which I
Because maybe
never...
he didn't.
Yeah.
Like
So
going
far,
going
maybe.
back to your
Yeah.
original thing where you think maybe it could have just been
Right.
Billy.
Right.
No, I think he was there because Casey was his ex.
Yeah. I know. I was thinking.
know what
about,
I
wonder
mean?
who she sees when she takes the mask off.
I feel like it's got to be Stu,
I
right?
wonder. Yeah, I think so.
Because that's like his vengeful killing.
Yeah. It just makes it more interesting. But then they're killing people where they don't actually care.
But I
Yeah.
love, so what I noticed this time that I've never noticed is that Stu says that line, which, I didn't kill anybody. And then when we cut to the police station, when Billy's arrested, he says to the cops, I didn't kill anybody.
He
Right.
didn't kill anybody.
And I was like, it's the same line.
I also didn't realize till watching it now how scary Skeet Ulrich is. Billy is like.
Yeah, he doesn't seem
He's
like a
creepy.
great boyfriend.
Well, just whenever he shows up, he looks like a killer.
That's what
and
I'm saying. Like,
forgot.
I
Yeah.
think maybe they were trying to set him up to be the killer the whole time, and so you think it's him, you think it's him, you think it's him, and then he gets quote unquote stabbed
Right.
in the house, and you're like,
Totally.
oh shit, it's not him.
Well, that's the amazing thing
That's the great-
about this
yeah.
movie is that the movie will not stop telling you that Billy's the killer.
Yeah.
Randy insists that it's Billy. Sidney thinks it's Billy.
Right.
When Tatum is like, "Are you sure it's Billy?" to Sid, she's like, "Well, he was there," and then Tatum's like, "I knew he'd have a flaw. He was too
I
perfect."
wrote
It was
that
too
down too.
perfect.
It was so
But
funny.
it's-
She says it like, "Oh, he has halitosis," or like she says
Yeah.
it as if it's some.
I knew he had a plan.
Yeah, I knew
But
he
you
was
know
too
what I mean?
perfect.
Like, so many people are just like willing to accept that it's Billy as
Right.
the
Billy,
killer,
Billy, Billy.
and it's funny that we as the
Yeah.
audience are the only ones that are like not accepting of
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
Because we're like, well, obviously, if they're telling us it's Billy, it's
It
not
can't
Billy.
be Billy.
Can't be Billy.
But the
'Cause we've seen
movie,
horror movies.
when Randy screams like the dad is a red herring, I'm telling you it's Billy.
Mm.
It feels like it's Kevin Williamson being like, I'm telling you, the dad is a red
You
herring.
idiots,
Yeah.
come on, come on.
Yeah.
I know. I love it. It's
And
so
then it like
smart.
cuts to the police being like, well, we found the cell phone records and it's Sidney's dad. Like,
Oh,
cuts
and that's
straight to
another
that,
thing
you know?
about the whole '90s thing is like we had to like really trace the cell phone records and all that.
Oh, the
stuff.
fact
like,
that they keep saying cellular phone.
yeah,
Yes.
cellular phone.
Also,
Why do
what-
you have a cellular telephone?
Why does he have
Exactly.
a phone on him that's not like? Why doesn't he
And
just
gloves.
have Sidney's dad's phone? Why does he have?
He
his own?
cloned it.
Right, but they check that phone, don't they?
They check his phone's records. They don't check the cloned
I
phone's
see.
records.
I see. And they don't realize that the phone he's holding is a clone. They maybe just check his cell phone number.
And also another.
Well, the thing is also, we don't know if he has two phones on him.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's why I'm
So-
like, why does that one fall out? If that's his personal cell, why is that on him?
If you want to go down the road of like he was never going to kill her at that point, then you could say he did that on purpose of dropping his phone.
That's true.
Because he's like, this is the phone I want them to find.
Also tie into
Ah,
our last episode.
that's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
That's smart.
Oh man, Kevin.
I'm willing to talk
thinking.
all of the theories.
Kevin,
I love
thinking.
it.
And
In the-
another thing about.
Yo,
sorry, I was
go
just gonna say another thing about the small town thing is, like, they're not as up to date or adept
yeah.
at all the forensic kind
Well,
of stuff. I
especially
think-
because, as they point out, as Gail points out a bunch, nothing has happened in this town in a year.
Mhm.
So they're not like solving murders on the reg here.
Yeah. I wonder what they were doing, or Billy, maybe both of them, how they were biding their time. Were they like, All right, well,
Planning it.
Yeah, plan
Watching
this
movies.
for a year. That's
Yeah, they
true.
did say we watched a lot of movies. It was fun.
Yeah, and they reference a lot of movies. So
Well,
you
and
know
to
they
go
did.
back to the point that they're not good police, we know they're not good police because they caught the wrong guy and he's
Yeah.
on death row.
And Sidney put him there,
Liev
which I
Schreiber
love.
as well. There's a lot of
Yeah.
big stars in there.
Liev
Crazy,
Schreiber,
he
who was-
doesn't say a single
Yeah.
No,
thing.
it's just him on video.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
you know,
basically an extra.
And then
And-
he's got a big part in the sequel.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm excited.
And now, he's massive.
I also didn't realize what a weird name Cotton Weary was until Jess and I were talking, and Amir was like, Cotton Weary? I was like, yeah, that's his name. What?
Cotton Weary.
But
It's
it is
a great
a
name.
I'm from Texas. It's not weird to me.
And another cool little thing is
I love how we're all so excited. There's like 60 things. I wanna say.
Tatum's mother is the mother from Gremlins.
Oh, cool.
Oh, I love
Yes,
Gremlins.
just a small little part. She pops in. I was like, I saw that up the other night. I was like, wait, hey, oh my god! Oh. And I quickly looked it up and I went, yeah, it is. It's her.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Too. It's so good.
Did you notice, Jessica, because the last movie we watched was The Exorcist, that as
Linda
Sidney's...
Blair is in this movie?
No, is she?
Yeah.
What? That's not even what I was
What?
going to say.
Yeah, Linda Blair has a cameo in this movie.
Where?
She
What
says-
the fuck? What?
Whoa, this is not
Hold
what
for
I was
the-
going to say.
Hold for the direct quote. Say what you were going to say real quick.
Okay, I was just
Quick,
going to say
fill that dead time.
those shots of the sun look just like The Exorcist as she's falling asleep. Did you notice that?
No.
No.
No,
You should have
they
seen her
call
face
out-
and no.
they-
That's
No.
just stupid.
It's because she's
They
thinking
call
about
out-
her notes.
So
Yes.
they call out The Exorcist
Yes,
in
with
this
the
movie.
ratings. He's like, I saw The Exorcist. It
I
was
was watching
edited
The
for
Exorcist,
TV.
yes.
But then the shots when Tatum's supposed to be there and she's not, which makes me so angry at her. She's like, the passing of time and the bright red sunset is like exactly the opening of The Exorcist. So
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, guys.
you can edit this out.
Here it is. I found. Okay.
But
so
not
the
my
direct,
son's stuff. You have to keep that in.
the direct quote is, so this is after Billy has been released from jail. This is the next morning when they go back to school.
Mhm.
Yes.
After that whole thing happened. Linda Blair is one of the reporters, and she's got little cross earrings as a nod to The Exorcist. And she
Whoa.
says, how does it feel to be almost brutally butchered?
Oh.
People want to know. They have a
do.
right
They
to
have a
Is
right
that
to
her?
That's her.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's
I did not
fantastic. I
catch
do
that.
remember that quote, though. I
Yes.
do remember that.
I remember
People have a
thinking,
right to know.
Why do they have a right to know what it feels like to almost be brutally butchered? They don't have that right.
Also, the words they used in this movie were, like, Yale Weathers is like, 2 kids were brutally murdered.
Yeah.
The mother was savagely raped.
Yeah.
Like, they're synonyms in this. No, adjectives in this.
Yes,
Jesus.
they're almost like a romance novel.
It's so
the way that-
it's
Yeah.
like so sensational.
Yes.
Oh.
What's so great about the setup for the Marine Prescott is that it slowly kind of this information trickles out. So when Sidney goes in to get interviewed, they go, "Who's next?" Sidney Prescott. And it's like, "Oh, she's the daughter of a."
Yeah,
And
that kind
Tatum says it's the worst crime they've seen
since.
Well,
it's really bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
Oh my God, my favorite Tatum line I think is when she's like, Casey and Steve died, and Nev Campbell goes, "Casey sat next to me in science," and she's like, "Well,
Not anymore.
not
anymore."
anymore."
That's sassy
funny.
Rose McGowan.
It's so good. She
She's
is
sassy.
perfect in this movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Everybody.
And she
I-
looks great
It's
with
so
blonde
good.
hair.
She does.
She does. Yeah,
She
and I loved her relationship with
Stu? Oh, me
Like
too.
it was so good how they.
I love her relationship with Sidney.
Yeah.
Because that scene, like, Sidney gets so much fucking shit from Billy about how you should have sex with me and get over it, and it's been a year, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then when they're
His
at the
penis
grocery
doesn't
store.
deserve you.
Well, they're at the grocery store, and she's like, well, yeah, maybe I am being dramatic or whatever. And she's like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Like, your mom, you have a little
Your
bit
mom died.
post-traumatic stress because your mom died. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, she says that like he doesn't deserve to have to deal with a sexually anorexic girlfriend, and I thought that was really interesting because I thought I had never heard that term till recently.
Yeah.
But Scream addresses it. Like, I was researching for something I was writing about sex and love addicts, and sexual anorexia is like under the umbrella of a sex or love addict. Like a version of that is deprivation and just not allowing it for yourself at all. So I thought that was cool that they.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I would not call her. Well, I guess.
Is the opposite spectrum nymph?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess so. But they're treated the same way. Like the meetings are the same for both.
it's so great, the sexually anorexic.
It's
that
so great
Sidney-
being sexually anorexic.
Sidney is really dealing with this trauma of her mom
Yes.
dying, but she's dealing with it as she's trying to fight what her mother was. Everyone
Yes.
says her mom's a slut. Everyone says her mom's a tramp.
Mm-hmm.
And so her way to fight that is, I'm never going to have sex.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And she might even have the association of if you have sex, you get killed on a subconscious level.
But then what makes her then
Yes.
finally
Why
give
do they
in?
do it?
Why did she finally give in? Like I'm trying to remember what happens. Like they're at the party, Billy comes over.
He says, we need to talk.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And she says, well, I wish I was in a Meg Ryan movie
Yeah.
or even a good porno.
Yeah.
And he was like, what?
And he's
She
like,
goes,
"What?"
You heard me.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
says, are you sure?
You sure? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But doesn't really care if she's sure.
So what changes her mind?
I think at this point, maybe just so much has gone wrong and she knows she doesn't trust him, but she wants to get over that hump.
I think she wants to have sex.
Yeah.
But she's fighting all this stuff because of her mother's death and trying to get over it. And there's a great conversation between her and Tatum where Tatum's like, maybe your mom did have an affair with Cotton.
Mm-hmm.
And Sid's like, no, she didn't. She wouldn't. And she's like, well, your dad was away in business a lot. Like, maybe your mom was just really unhappy. And she says it in such a, like, nice way of, like, maybe it's not all false.
Mm-hmm.
Which made me think of this question that I want to turn on you guys.
You can only hear the Richard Gere gerbil story so many times before you start to believe it. She
Yeah.
says, which is
And
a great
that
line.
was I remember at school I heard that so many times.
Yeah.
But so,
I don't
okay,
believe it.
The Marine Prescott
You're all
death
good, Richie.
is that Marine, Maureen, how do you say that?
Yeah, Maureen.
Maureen,
Okay.
yeah.
That she was
It's like a
raped
grandparent's
and
name.
murdered by Cotton Weary is
Yeah.
what they say. That
Yeah.
Sidney saw
A man with a
Cotton
jacket.
leaving wearing
the house.
his jacket covered in her blood.
Yeah.
And everyone says that she was raped and murdered. But then
And
Gail
what's
says,
Cotton's story?
well, Gail says that that Cotton was drunk and that her mother seduced him.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many like loaded words that,
Yeah.
that seduced him.
Yeah.
And that he left after they had sex and
Mm-hmm.
that somebody planted the bloody coat in his car.
Yeah.
So my question is, if Cotton is saying they had sex
Mm-hmm.
and everyone is saying that Cotton raped her and killed her, was she never raped?
I wondered the same thing.
Because Billy
did
and
Or did
Stu,
Billy rape her?
Billy
Right,
and Stu
exactly.
never bring up rape or sex,
Yeah.
which you would think when they say like
Right when they're
she's,
twisting the knife. That's
yeah,
Well,
she's like fuck
maybe-
you, and he's like we already played that game.
right.
Don't you think that they would have said like, and I had your
true.
mother too?
Yeah, I kind of thought
maybe this was just what the media and the police thought happened
Because they thought that
she
she would never have sex with Cotton
Right.
willingly.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what Sidney
yeah.
says.
and
Well,
the, and the fact that she was murdered.
Yeah.
So therefore, it must not have been consensual.
Right. I don't think she was ever raped.
Yeah.
I know. I never thought about that till this viewing.
Also, I want to come back to what you were saying about why did she have sex with him now?
Yeah.
And I feel like this is a very analogous experience I had, which is I'd never been drunk, but I had my first, I had a shot and then a swig of beer to chase it, and somebody had put something in my drink.
Oh, Jesus
And I
Christ.
went
This
to
is
the
like the first
hospital.
time you drank?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I went to the hospital. It was bad. And then anytime I would smell beer or alcohol, I would feel physically ill. And
Yeah.
I was like, no, he doesn't get to win. So I powered through and I drank beer to try and get over it. And I feel like that's sort of what she's...
that night?
Not that
Or-
night,
Oh,
no.
okay. I was like,
Like
whoa.
months
Jesus.
later.
Oh, okay.
After the hospital,
Yeah.
I would be like, oh, I feel like I have to leave. And then I was like, no, this is fucked up. I'm not going to let this determine how I live my life. And I did it like it was medicine that I had to drink, which in hindsight was not a great
so you
solution.
so you went too far the other direction.
Well, and I
Yeah.
think Sid is, we watch her slowly unraveling because she starts out with Billy and saying, I don't want to do this. And
Right.
Billy is slowly trying to convince her to have sex
Right,
with him.
Yeah.
right.
He's putting a lot of blame on her and
Yeah.
pressure.
Yes.
By the way, all red flags. If anyone
Yes.
in your life is telling you this,
I
Yeah.
wonder if
Not a
he
good
was
sign.
waiting for her to have sex with him before actually killing her.
I think
But
eventually he probably
Maybe.
would've.
That's a good theory.
But then the conversation with Tatum, where she's like, then Sidney starts blaming herself, and where she calls herself sexually anorexic, and so she's taking in all this verbal abuse
Yeah.
from him, and then she starts regurgitating
Right.
it about herself, and I think it wears her down enough till
Yeah.
in that great scene with her and Billy before they have sex, where she says I can't keep lying to myself about who my mother really was,
Yeah.
and I'm scared I'm gonna turn out like her, which I think is this moment where we had
Well,
never heard that
that's-
before. That's why she's not having sex.
What I was going
Yeah.
to say before was maybe she was just like, I'm tired of being scared.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do it. Because she's probably wanted to the entire time.
My interpretation, and obviously heavily influenced by my own personal experiences, but that there's a thing that you feel like you're supposed to do as a teenager. Like drink beer, have sex. I didn't have sex till after high school. But
Same.
yeah. But like she's thinking this is normal.
You were a much cooler high school student.
No, what was mine? No, I was.
You don't even remember?
No, I do. I was just trying to think. No, I was still. It was my final year of high school.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and she's a senior, I assume.
Yeah, I think.
But I was younger.
Because then the next one she's in college. And
Okay,
it's the
yeah.
next year.
So, I mean, that's like a thing. You're like, okay, I'm a teenager. I'm supposed to drink beer and have sex and whatever. And so for me, even though I was not 21 and I didn't need to be drinking, it was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I was convincing myself I was taking my power back, but I actually was kind of actually just giving him more power because now I'm
Yeah.
like getting drunk to prove that, like, why? And I feel like that's sort of what she did is like, I can be normal. Let me show you how normal I can be. And she's trying to take her power back, but she's actually just giving it away.
This
And-
conversation's it's really deep, isn't it? Like, but this is kind of interesting that you can
that good of a
actually
movie.
you can
Yeah.
actually you can actually dig this deep
Yeah.
into a horror film
Yeah.
Oh,
of
yeah.
what
It's
and
such a
like
good
and you
movie.
kind of and this is like
And Nev
this is
Campbell is so good.
yeah, and this is
Yes,
a kind of
she really,
conversation you can have
really is.
where you get to the point where of like these may be the kind of conversations that the director, the writer, and the actors all had
Yeah.
in order to justify the scenes.
Well, and
this
I
is
love
where
the
like
scene,
the really nitty gritty comes into play.
when she's in the bathroom and she hears the people talking about her, the cheerleader and the
Yeah.
Oh,
And they
so
wanted to get rid of
relatable.
that scene too.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Wes
They say
Craven's
that
like,
much.
nope, keep it in.
Why? Yeah,
They
it's so
they thought
relatable.
it was really out of place.
Yeah, Kevin Williamson had said that he was gonna that he just when he wrote the scene, he wrote it just kind of as filler,
And was
Yeah.
and then
cut
when
it.
he saw the performance,
He was like, oh,
he was like, "Oh my God, this is such a
Yeah.
pivotal emotional scene for Sidney."
I love how the specifics are not relatable because most of us are not in that specific experience, but it's still so universal, that feeling of being talked about.
Ugh.
Yes. And people
especially in
don't know
high
they're there.
school.
I
High
related
school.
to that so hard. And not to keep going back to it, but I do, I mean, the most emotionally resonant scene for me is that one where she's like, I don't want to end up like my mom, getting very deep again for a second because my biological mom killed herself. I always felt like that's going to happen to me. And so I really relate to that feeling, almost like it's out of your control. Like you're just
Yeah.
going to fall.
Like it's genetic or something.
Yeah.
like
And
that,
she
yeah.
says that in there. She's like I'm the bad seed or something.
Yes, which I liked also because Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds are on the soundtrack.
Oh man.
It was a good tie-in. But yes, I love that. I related to that so hard.
I think some of my favorite dialogue is in that bathroom scene when she's like, she's got her own bubble butt boyfriend.
Yeah,
It's
Billy.
the dialogue in that.
Yeah,
And then
like,
when the cheerleader is
A much
like,
healthier, therapeutic
oh
expression.
my God,
She
yeah.
does that thing with her hair and
But
head.
homicide is so out this year.
Yeah, totally. You know?
It's
Or
so
suicide
good.
is so out. And homicide is
It's
so.
in.
Ugh.
In.
And where'd you hear that? Ricky Lake.
Yeah. Oh, Ricky Lake. Oh, how 90s does it get?
I love Dawson's Creek.
Me too.
Yeah.
This is like, you know,
That's right. He
it's-
did do.
Dawson's
Oh,
Creek.
Yeah.
shit.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
this is post Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and it's like pre Dawson's Creek. So it's like this weird meeting in the middle for both of them because the dialogue is like not as heavy as Dawson's Creek, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
It's very Sorkian, but still specific in his own.
It's so Williamson, and it's like when Dawson's Creek
Williamson.
came out, and people were like, "Oh, this is so unrealistic. Teenagers don't talk like this," you know, blah blah blah. I was like a teenager at that time,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Fuck you, I will be talking like this."
Yeah. Everybody.
And I
starts.
was the
It's
most
like,
pretentious teenager.
yeah.
you met.
Oh, that or in Clueless, where it's like,
The Valley Girl.
well, they say like, wow, you guys talk like grown-ups and shit.
Oh yeah.
Grown-ups and shit.
She's like, well, this is a really good school.
What's,
Yeah.
what's the is it Juno? Like that
Yeah.
was a big one for me. I was like, no one talks like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the first 5 minutes where you're like, okay, I know, I'm getting to where we're going with this. But
Yeah,
it's a
Like,
rough
it's
intro. into the world.
it's very well written, but there might be one random person ever in the history of the world that like spoke like that.
Yeah.
Spoke like Juno.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
all that sort of stuff.
The one time I jumped and screamed was when Dewey has the mask outside of the
yeah.
front door. Yeah, I was like, what
Oh,
a cheap!
yeah.
I totally fell for it.
Yeah.
Oh,
can't
I
believe how
fall for the
scared
one
I
right
was.
before it,
Which one?
where she goes back inside from being on the patio and he's in the closet.
Oh.
That one always gets me.
Oh, it scared me, but I.
That one
screamed
always
with
gets me
Dewey.
because it's similar to The Shining, where it's like the beat of it is like it's one extra beat or it's one beat too soon. I can't remember,
Yeah.
but I know he's coming. But it always like gets me in the timing
Yes.
of when he's coming.
I'm trying to think what I mean when I was 15, I'm sure so much
Oh my God, this
scared
was
me.
like
So
a
much made me
crazy scary
jump.
movie
But
when it came out.
now I'm so adept at like predicting when something's going to pop out.
Yeah.
But every now and then, like say for the Descent was very, very good at scaring me. The Conjuring, I thought, had some good moments.
And I remember Scream being so fun.
Yeah.
But watching it, I got
People
more
were laughing in
scared.
the cinema.
You know
it's
what
very
part
funny, but
weirdly
it is
scares
scary.
me in Scream?
Which?
Is it's just like this feeling of when she goes home after school and she turns off the TV and she lays down and she wakes up and it's night.
Yeah.
And there's something about that every time I see it, I'm just like, no, because I
that.
hate that
Shit
feeling.
happens.
I hate that feeling when you take a nap during the day and you wake up and it's like pitch black.
It's depicted very well with the Exorcist's son in between.
It's so eerie.
That is true.
I think the scariest image to me is still Casey strung up in the tree.
Yeah.
That fucking gets me.
That one doesn't get me.
I mean, it was super
so
quick, though.
scary.
It goes, it was a quick zoom in.
Somehow the zoom makes it even scarier to me.
Yeah, I feel like the gore in Scream doesn't get to me.
It
I'm
does
much
to me.
more set off by
I'm more
the
psychological.
more subtle. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Even
more
just
psychological.
them saying that they strung up the principal scared me. Just picturing it because I'd seen it with Casey. I was
Well,
like,
that's the thing. Like, it uses your imagination,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's what, like, that's the best thing. Is it you use the imagination. That's why,
Yeah.
like, obviously, completely different kind of film. Why Seven was
Yeah.
so good.
I've never
Just-
seen Seven. No, let me finish my sentence. I've never seen Seven unedited for television.
Oh, wow.
I've only ever seen it on like TBS.
Really? Mm.
Time to
Yeah,
make
so
the
when people are
R-rated
like, Seven
relationship.
is so gory, I'm like, you're a bunch of wimps.
But the thing is, though, it's not. It's not
Yeah.
gory. It's all like in your imagination. Like the part where, she's talking about the guy's talking about he had to have sex with that girl, and then Morgan Freeman puts the Polaroid down, and then you see the device. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, see the sharp device. But everyone
it's in your
immediately,
imagination.
everybody is just like, oh,
Yep.
God,
Yes.
like that kind of thing.
That pain.
Yeah.
You
Oh.
feel it. Oh, can I also just say, I love that post-coitus, after she has sex with Billy, she just picks up that hairbrush and starts using
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Brushing your hair.
That's
That's
the
what
one
happens every
moment.
time, doesn't it?
Right, that's the one moment where I'm like, this is a guy writing a female character.
But it's great kind of
Who has
that
no
thing where
idea.
it's like she's to put herself back together.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
But,
like she's been deflowered.
yeah.
And that is true.
Still, I'm like, no, this is a guy writing a girl.
I love how
personally.
she does that.
I love it
I
because
love
to me
it
it
so
feels like the
much.
one thing that I'm like, no, but I love
It's
you.
also gross to me
Scream.
that Stu's like, yeah, why don't you guys go talk alone in my parents' room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, ugh.
Well, I mean, obviously that was planned. I mean, was it planned?
Yeah, I think
But
so.
this is the thing. This is another interesting thing. How Billy and Stu plan all of this.
Yes.
Because at one point, Stu's in the costume, at another point, Billy's in the costume,
They have
especially the
two, I
house at the
think.
end.
They must have two, right?
Yeah, well, I don't see.
Yeah.
I don't mean that they like, but as in like, okay, when are you going to?
Right,
Like,
right.
because we're gonna go have, like, obviously,
Okay,
if
let's-
Billy's gonna go have sex with Sidney, all right, Stu, you got to pop up in your house.
There's only like a handful of deaths.
Yeah.
So let's take guesses real quick. Like, who do you
Like
think
who?
killed the principal? I mean, it could be either or. I would just say Billy only because I feel like Stu is doing stuff for his party.
I would say
Yeah,
Stu
Bi-
only because
yeah,
Billy's
Billy-
too suspicious right now. He's got to lay
Yeah,
low.
he was the one that was kind of like, he was still at the school. When he came in and she like she ran away from him when he said, and he goes, "Oh, stupid," in the
I love
in the
that.
cafeteria or whatever
Yeah.
it was. I think he probably hung around there. Yeah, because Stu's going around organizing the party, all that sort of stuff. So Billy is in the toilet, I think.
Yeah, that is my question. Was the person
And how the
who's
hell does
in-
he even get in there and
It's
no
like,
one
is
sees?
the person
I mean,
in there
I
really
think
one
these-
of the killers, or is it one
Someone
of the
dressed
kids
up.
dressed as it? Because then
But then they do have a
Ah.
knife, right?
they don't have a knife.
Okay.
Because I checked for that. They don't have a knife. They're like pushing her towards the sink. But it cuts to somebody saying like, "Oh, there's a bunch of pranks going around, or
Right.
whatever."
Yeah,
but then Sid, who is always right because she fucking calls that it's Billy
Yeah.
right away,
Mm.
Sid is like, "I know it was him." So then I'm like, "Was
Yeah,
it him?
I think
'Cause
it probably
I should
was.
trust Sidney."
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for how it happens, but I think it's supposed to be that. Also, what doesn't make a lot of sense is when they're like in, I keep wanting to say the liquor store.
Oh,
But
at the grocery store.
yeah, and
Also,
it just
when they're
goes,
outside and he's
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
and
like,
he's just randomly there.
It's like, that doesn't really make sense.
I think the
but
only
that's
way
fine.
that makes sense is because they set up that everyone is like dressing up like the character for fun, but
Yeah.
that
I think-
it's like less. You know what I mean? Though,
Yeah.
but
they're showing it to us to be like, it's scary, but
But makes sense to me in the fact of like well, why doesn't anyone see that it's the fight? He's right fucking there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, at least they threw in that line of, like, everyone's dressing up like him now.
Right. At least they threw that in. But I think they could have just cut that and been fine.
But when I was
Those
like,
moments.
the first time I saw this, I remember being like, he's at the grocery store
I know.
too?
But watching it,
Where
knowing
was
who
he?
the killers are, you're like, why would they be walking
Yeah.
around in that? Also, I like
Exactly.
picturing, because I think at one point I tried on that costume, and it was the first time that it really sunk in. Oh, this is a dress. You're wearing a long black dress with a...
It's like a witch's outfit that
Yeah.
you get at Party City.
But there's something about when you actually put it on that you're like, oh, it feels very feminine.
Okay, so that was the principal. And then when we go to the house, I just want to run through the deaths real quick to get your guesses.
All right.
So who's the first one? Kenny? Tatum, probably. Tatum's the first one.
Steve.
That's got to be Billy.
Well, Steve's the
Steve,
first
yeah.
one.
I mean, at the party.
Oh.
Because we already covered that.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
both of
Tatum
them.
is the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've done the principal.
Oh, Tatum, no, I think
I have
it's
a feeling
Stu.
Stu
Yeah.
killed.
It's not Stu, though, because Stu tells her to go get the beers.
I know,
and
but he knows
stays
where
Yeah, but then
Right.
it doesn't... But doesn't then he...
No, doesn't he do I'll be right
Doesn't he?
back?
I'll be right back.
That's way fucking later.
Oh, yeah, you're
All
right.
right,
you're
so
right.
it's Billy
So-
then.
But we don't see him right after.
But
She
he's
sends
still-
him to go
And Billy
get his
hasn't come to
beer.
the party yet, quote unquote.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that one's Billy,
Billy.
because Stu says, will you go get the beers? And then he goes to talk to other people, and he stays in the house.
I want to like the movie as much as possible, and I like it more if it's Stu.
If it's Stu.
Really?
Yeah, although, you know what I do like about it not being
I feel
Stu?
like Billy's so brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
true.
there's also... I mean,
Or
this
do you
is
think
getting
that
super...
Stu's funnier, so that's why he's, like, doing the tilted head?
I just think it's more personal if it's Stu, so that
But
gives
it's
it
not a very
higher
personal
stakes.
death.
How tall
Because
is...
he cuts her arm, and then he lets the garage do it. That's not a very, like,
but it is more
personal-
personal
Yeah.
just if it's your boyfriend.
I think it might be... I think it's Billy.
What I like about it being Billy, even though, so maybe I'm changing my stance, is, God, what is the word Jamie Kennedy uses at one point? All I can think is lackey, but that wasn't that word. He basically calls him like his lackey. Who
Billy or Stu?
calls Stu Billy's lackey.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
for sure is.
Yes. And so I kind of like the idea that the one kill that Stu should get is his own girlfriend.
Yeah.
But Billy still takes it. That to me is interesting because Stu is just like
And
eager to
Billy
be
also
liked.
takes Casey.
Well,
even though
maybe.
Stu's the one that...
Yeah, maybe.
the ex...
I wish that we knew who was the one when
Mate,
she lists
what
the
if
mask.
what if
Yeah.
it's almost
didn't
what
say
if
in the
it's
commentary.
always
No.
Billy and Stu's the one on the phone
Yeah.
the whole time?
That's interesting. That's a very interesting theory.
But then they both have
But he
little...
has to be there when he kills Billy.
Yeah.
They throw it
But
back
they-
That
and
has
forth.
to be him.
The
Oh,
voice
do they? Yeah,
changer,
they
do.
they
Yeah,
toss it
yeah,
at each
yeah.
other. Wait, what
Because
was
Stu
it?
comes out and
But
he's
I mean,
the
I was
first
saying
he's
Stu
the
has to
first
be
one
the
with
one.
the little microphone.
Yeah,
thing.
hello,
Yeah.
Sidney.
Hello. Surprise.
About
Sidney.
halfway through the movie, I thought about the TV thing. I was like, oh, that's coming, where they kill him with the TV. And I was like, that's a fun metaphor.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wonder if that had ever happened. Like a TV falls on you and all of a sudden it just
Yeah. Well, the
explodes.
garage thing wouldn't happen because it would stop.
Yeah,
It wouldn't
yeah.
lift that kind of human weight. But it's so good. It's so scary. I don't know. They do that thing to her face. It looks so real.
The
Yep.
neck break thing.
It looks like it
Yeah,
becomes
and
plastic.
she could actually fit through it. They had to, like, nail her shirt to it so
Oh,
that she
wow.
would get stuck. Because, like, the IMDb
This
trivia
tiny
was
little
like,
Rose
fun
McGowan.
fact, Rose McGowan learned on this set that she can, in fact, fit through a pet door.
Yeah, they make it look very convincing.
Well, yeah, in real life, you would think that the weight of her would
Yeah.
weigh
Bring
down.
it down. Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
But when I was a kid and I saw this, I was like,
Oh, terrifying.
it's so scary. And Sydney's
Did you ever see
reaction
the dog?
to it,
The-
there's a cat.
Oh, was it a cat?
Where?
Yeah, because when she's going to get the beers, a bunch of rakes fall.
Oh, the
Oh
cat.
yeah,
And it's the
stupid
tabby
cat.
cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it runs out. Actually, when we watched
Oh,
The Shining.
to set up that
The
there's
pet
a
door.
pet dog. Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah, I forgot about that.
Everything sets up something. In
It
this
does.
movie.
It
When we
does.
watched The Shining and Shelley Duvall's trying to climb through the window, I was so scared, and this is why. Because
Yeah.
because of fucking Scream. I was
Yeah.
like, she's gonna get cut in half, which doesn't even happen to Tatum, but
Which
still.
they
Ugh.
revisit this in Scream 4.
Mm.
The garage door
We'll
death.
have to watch them all.
Scream 4, the garage
God,
door.
I love Scream 4. I feel like it might be my second favorite Scream.
Whoa.
Really? I haven't seen that for a little while. That's the one with
never seen
is
4.
that like Julia Roberts' daughter?
Niece, Emma
Niece,
Roberts.
yeah,
Who
yeah.
I, by the way, also went as for Halloween one year.
Wow.
Mm.
And 0 people got it.
Did you guys notice when right after Randy's like, "Don't say I'll be right back," and then
Yeah.
Stu
I'll be
does,
right
"I'll be right-" yeah.
back.
Then they show Gail, of course, that cut,
And she
Yeah.
says it too.
she says it too, and it's ADR'd. And you can
Oh, I
see
didn't
it.
know it
Her
was a
lips, I
yard.
rewound just to see. Her lips are so clearly saying something else.
Yeah.
And I'm not even mad because I'm like, yeah, that is a better line.
Nice. Man, I have to watch more thorough next time. So many of those kinds of things.
One thing that stretched believability to me, and I don't mind because it's just so fun to watch, but especially if they were going to kill Sidney early on,
Yeah.
right? If they were going to kill her that first time without her knowing who they are, without knowing the backstory, why are they keeping her alive as they're like stabbing each other and kind of explaining everything? They do pull it off much better than 99% of horror movies, but it was
they're
like
cocky. I think like it starts as it goes on, like they're just so in love with themselves as murderers, and they can't tell anybody because they don't want to get caught.
right.
So this is like their one chance to really like gloat.
That's
that
true.
right?
Yeah.
I like that.
You know what I
justification.
mean? That's like the point. They're really showing off to her.
About
While
it.
we're talking about the ending and the big speech,
The boogie speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk about their motive because
Okay.
Yes.
earlier in the video store, Randy, when he's
The
like,
millennium.
Yes.
when he's saying it's Billy, Stu's like, why would Billy want to kill his girlfriend? He's like, there's always some bullshit reason to kill your
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
girlfriend.
Mhm.
Maybe it's because Sidney's not having sex with him.
Yeah.
Which I was like, ooh, Randy is smart.
He
I think
is.
that is.
Well,
smart.
he's
Also-
obsessed with horror films.
Shout out to the background actor in that scene. Did you notice she's so great?
Do you want to know what they said on the commentary?
What?
Because Kevin Williamson's like, oh, that's a great background actor.
Yes.
And
Who was
Wes
it?
Craven goes, that's the third one we tried.
Wow.
We went through 3 to get one that would give me the exact reaction I wanted.
Hell yeah.
Because
What
he
was
was
the
like,
reaction?
I wanted that
Was it
reaction.
just
paid
kind of
off.
like just looking?
Yeah, because that's when he's like talking all that.
And he's going a bit
horror.
high.
He says
kind of
there's
like-
always a reason to kill your girlfriend, making it seem like he maybe is a murderer,
Yeah.
and she kind of clocks it and looks disturbed and exits. And she's great. That's
Yeah.
like the type of thing that could just destroy a scene. So, hell yeah,
Well-
Wes Craven,
Absolutely.
worth it.
And
I mean,
Kevin
Michael
Williamson
Caine
said
was
there
a
were
extra.
two,
Yeah.
when he was writing the script, he got like 2 notes from people, which was like, it's scarier if there's no motive,
Yeah.
or there's scarier if there is a motive. And so that's
he did
why he
both.
was like, you know what, fuck you
I'll
all.
do both.
Put them both in there.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Like Stu, I feel like he's
like,
really
"Fuck yeah."
enjoying the adrenaline of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas Billy was
Really
you know,
trying to fix some holes in his heart.
Yeah, like he's like I was fucked up.
There's almost something homoerotic
He's really trying to
about
fix like his
their
mother.
relationship.
Oh yeah.
And also, like, I'm sorry, but fuck Billy's mother. If she abandoned her son
Yeah.
because her husband had an affair with somebody else,
Yeah, you can leave your
you're
husband.
still a shitty mother.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but that's not Maureen
Also, it
Prescott's
takes
fault.
2. What about your fucking dad, Billy?
She could have taken her son and left.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
You could have prevented all these murders.
Or
My
was it
God.
something that Billy was always going to do, and this just gives him an excuse?
But I liked Stu's reaction when
Oh, yeah,
Billy
he's
starts.
shocked.
Yeah, he was like, "What? I didn't know this."
I
Which-
love that too.
Which part?
When
So-
he's like,
Oh, about the mom.
your
Yes.
Yeah,
slutty
yeah, yeah.
mother was
Yeah.
fucking my father.
Yeah.
Yes. That was
Yeah,
great.
Stu did not see that
Yeah, he was
coming.
like, "Whoa."
I would love to know how Billy convinced Stu to do it.
Yes.
Since Stu had no idea why he was doing it.
I feel about threesomes the way that I do about murderous pairs. Or, okay,
What's the
wait,
first
actually, I'm going to
conversation?
clarify. Yes. Not even so much threesomes as, I guess, affairs. Yes. How does that start? Because you're risking so much. If I'm like, hey, I know my partner.
When you do it like
you're-
that, hey.
I'm in a relationship and so are you, but what if we just fucked? Like, you could just blow up my whole life. Or if I'm like,
I mean, that is probably
How
what
it
hap-
goes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hey, you wanna?
That's
Hey,
true.
wouldn't it be great if we killed Sydney's mom? Pause. I was just kidding.
Yeah. No.
Right, but
Let's
how
go kill
do you
this
get?
cat.
How do you know who's going to be like sure, and also why?
Oh my God, wouldn't you love it if this was like the 6th person he had floated this idea by?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
And-
there's got to be a story like that. There's got to be history of a murderous pair where friends around them are like, they actually asked me, but I thought it was a joke. That has to be. That
I'm
has
Maybe
to,
this is
right?
the
I'm
movie
sure
we're
there
writing.
is.
I'm trademarking this idea right now.
Yes. All right.
That's
Nobody
great.
nobody
Don't take
listen.
the idea. Don't take the I think we're all on the same page that we think Billy was the initiator, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
sure,
And
for
well,
sure.
he had the most,
God, what is the word he uses?
I guess, motive.
Because Billy is like always kind of a
Lapdog.
bully.
That's the word he uses. I kept thinking lackey, but he calls
Lapdog.
him his lapdog.
Yeah. I don't know. Did they show the franchise of the video store? Was it Blockbuster or was it?
It's not a blockbuster, but it's blockbuster.
It is a Blockbuster. Yeah.
It
Which
made
I
me
worked at a
nostalgic.
also.
So did I. I worked in a Blockbuster.
Nice.
Yeah, I loved it. That's still my favorite show.
It was awesome. Like so many people would come in and kind of like, so what's good? What can I watch? And you're like, oh, okay, all right, go and watch this and watch this. And
you're like curating.
Well, and I worked at it twice. I worked in
totally
high school,
Tarantino.
and then I worked my first year after college, and so there's like 5 years in between there, or 4 years in between. And Blockbuster was so different after, like, in that time, because it was starting to lose a lot of money. Yeah. And so by the second time I worked there, it was the fucking best.
The exact quote, even because we've touched on it because it's so good, but I don't know if we've said it in full, is, it's the millennium. Motives are incidental. That's the line. It's so good.
That is
incidental.
True. I mean, the millennium was used as so many different
yet.
things.
It's 97.
Yeah.
You still have a few years.
I mean, you're getting close.
Well, and I also love at the video store when he's like, if they watched Prom Night, they'd save time. There's a formula to it.
Very simple formula.
Everybody's a suspect.
It made me really want to watch.
Everybody stops and looks at him.
Yes, I want to watch Prom Night. I wrote down, I want to watch it.
I love, these are all in my wheelhouse. I love Friday the 13th, Prom Night, The Fog they give a shout out to, which I fucking love.
When did they give a, what do they say
The
with The Fog?
Terror Train, Prom Night, Jamie Lee Curtis is in all these.
Yes.
Oh.
And they give a shout out to my absolute favorite movie of all time, Trading Places.
Yes, because she showed her boobs.
That is my number one favorite movie of all time, and that's one where Jamie Lee shows her tits.
What's the quote?
She didn't show her tits till she went legit.
The jits, yeah.
When we watched Friday the 13th, I said that I thought Jamie Lee Curtis was in it, and this movie is why, because they talk about her as the Scream Queen, and they rattle off all these classics that she's in, and so in my brain, I just was like, oh, she's the lead in Friday the 13th.
Well,
and
they use Halloween so much through this with, like, go get help at the Mackenzies, which is a direct line from Halloween. And then the way that they use the closet scene in Halloween to, they use it twice in this. It's once when Dewey is going through the house alone, and he's, like, pulling the gun, and Jamie Lee screams, and they're soundtracking it with the soundtrack from Halloween. It's so spooky. And then they use that same scene again when
with
Billy
Sidney?
is looking for Sidney, and she's in the closet, and he gets distracted by the Halloween screams, and that's when she stabs him with the umbrella, which was the second time she stabs him is real, which is why he screams out this, like, if you watch that, it's so sad.
I want to rewatch that.
That's awesome.
She hits him once, and then she hits him again, and the second one is when he's like, he makes a yelp like a hurt dog, and it's because she missed the pad.
Did he have to do anything for it? Like, did it puncture skin?
No,
did they say?
it just really hurt.
Yeah.
It just really hurt me, Nev.
Just the back
it just
of the
really
umbrella.
hurt me.
I'm glad he wasn't injured. He was very nice. I feel like I want to clarify that when I went up to him, he was very nice. But Nev,
But he
forever.
just hated that you loved Scream.
No, he just wasn't impressed until I mentioned touch. And then he was like, whoa. Also, the specifics of I'm the one who's been selfish and self-absorbed with all this post-traumatic stress. She delivers it so well.
How
but it's like,
how self-deprecating can he get?
Oh, so relatable.
Yeah, no one has any, like, except for Tatum, no one really has, like, empathy for her trauma.
Although, I love Tatum says, you'll thaw out. That's her response, you'll thaw out. Like, yeah, you're nice, queen.
Yeah.
But you'll
But
thaw
she
out.
says, so you have a few intimacy issues as a result of your mother's untimely death. It's no big deal, Sid. I love that.
Yeah.
She's like, calm down. Like, you're allowed to have these feelings.
I love that Tatum, to me, really feels like a sort of stock character, but in a way that is awesome. Like, she feels very fleshed out and likable and compelling and interesting, but she also feels like a total stereotype, and I am into it.
Yeah.
But her relationships with everybody are so well defined, where she's like, she's giving Dewey a hard time. She's so supportive of Sid.
Sydney.
And then she
has
so,
a really good
like,
relationship with Stu.
girlfriend with Stu.
Yeah, like I remember loving the scene where Stu is telling Sydney, you know, do you want to come to this party?
Yes.
And just how they were like, it's
like,
just one shot,
twirling her
picking her up and
around.
putting her on the shoulder
The
and walking around
physicality.
and dancing and bending her over and all that,
Yeah.
and it's all just kind of like flows so nicely.
Matthew Lillard is so amazing in this
He
movie.
is.
And I listened to him on a podcast where he was saying, like, after this, he didn't work a lot. And it's, like, shocking.
I agree.
Because he
I was
is
thinking about SLC Punk, and then, like, what else?
I feel like he's
Did
the standout from this movie.
Did
Like,
he
he
do-
didn't get a lot of lead parts after this.
Yeah.
Well, he's also like he was such a specific character in Scream. Like very specific. Like I bet you Hollywood was just like, no, that's all you can do.
But you could not have cast anybody else in that part.
No, I know. I know.
I mean, it's
He's
like
singular.
they won the lottery with that.
It's true. How good is that line at the end when she calls him a pansy-ass mama's boy? It's so good.
And then I feel like that moment is her, like, you know what? Enough about my fucking mother, Billy.
Also, what about your mom?
Yeah, like, she stands up for herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact is the first rated R movie I ever saw was Vampire in Brooklyn, which is directed by Wes Craven.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wes Craven directed
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy in Vampire in Brooklyn?
How crazy is that?
Oh my God.
I looked it
Oh
up.
wow.
And I was like, oh.
Wes. I really loved Wes's Red Eye. With
I forgot that was
with
him.
Cillian Murphy
He's
and
such a
Yeah.
good director.
yeah.
And
Yeah, he's
so
great.
amazing. And this is one of the
Cillian?
only horror. I think this
Cillian.
is
Killian,
Yeah,
Killian,
Cillian.
that's it, Killian.
this is the
Cillian.
only horror.
Chilean Murphy.
Chilean Murphy.
But Scream is the only horror franchise that has the same director for every installment.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So cool. Makes me really want to watch the rest of them.
And they're so good. And I think if you watch Scream 4 is a bookend to Scream.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I love it so much, is because it's really trying to tie up the franchise.
Mhm.
And the party. I love a good party.
Yeah.
And I love high school, so I love a good party. And when I was watching it last night, I pressed pause and I was like, oh my God, the party is like half the movie.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
40 minutes.
It's
worth of
crazy.
film.
And they said it took like 21 night shoots to film that
Wow.
party.
Oh God.
Also, I like that both guys who get in trouble for wearing the masks are at the party.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And I was actually looking and I was like, they look so 90s,
Yes.
like high school
yeah.
boys,
It's
like
so
with the
perfect.
haircut and the square jaws and like,
Mhm.
oh come on, was it come on, Principal is it Strickland? No, Strickland's
Hembry.
what's Strickland? Strickland's Back to the Future, I think it is.
Ah.
I think it is. I'm
Not
not
a
too
horror
sure.
movie, so I don't know it.
No, well, fair enough. Yeah.
Okay, this is crazy because we have been watching a lot of great movies with great performances, but I think my favorite horror performance, maybe of all time, as far as, because obviously Matthew Lillard is great, but as far as the final girl, is Neve Campbell in Scream.
I will just write
Yeah.
a little asterisk that you have not seen Halloween yet.
That's true.
So I do want to leave room
Okay,
in case.
okay. I'll say.
Are
all
we
the
talking
movies I've
about
seen
like
so
the
far.
70s Halloween or are we
Yeah,
talking about
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, we're not talking about Rob Zombies.
And, I have
Look,
seen
I don't want to start a war
Alien.
with Ram Zombie, but no fucking way are we talking
Yeah.
about that.
Watch Rob Zombie's
There are other like Sigourney Weaver and
Yeah.
Alien.
Oh,
There are
yeah, yeah.
others that
There's
are
great,
amazing.
Well, there's great final girls. I'm just
But
putting a little
I-
asterisk for the audience.
Specifically.
For the
Yeah.
audience that she has not seen Halloween.
Okay.
So don't send us mail
I'm
that
just-
says that you're
Yeah.
upset because Jamie Lee Curtis is the
But also
original
I mean,
disagree
Halloween.
with
if
us,
you're,
that's
by the way,
fine.
if you're able to get Rob Zombie on this podcast, like,
Oh, then I love Rob Zombie.
yeah, no, he's a horror movie buff. Like, if you watch his
I heard
podcast,
him on Howard Stern
Yeah,
once. talking
I know. I
Howard
just
Stern-
have real problems with what he did with Halloween.
yeah,
I think Michael Myers is so. I'm sorry. Cover your ears because you haven't seen it yet. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. I think what's
But
so scary
yeah.
about Michael Myers is that
there's nothing.
he came from a great family
Yeah.
and he turned into a murderer.
Okay, maybe I should because I want.
Well,
Oh, you mean in the first?
In the first one,
Rob Zombies is
And
just
in
kind
Rob
of like,
Zombies, he's like an abused kid from
Yeah.
like this horrible home, and it's like, yeah, I'd fucking kill somebody too.
Neve
Yeah.
Campbell just has this like pathos, and I like her face a lot, and she's delightful to watch, and the way that she sort of like scream cries.
Well, and she
Is-
feels like she's
Yeah.
in a different movie in the best way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, her character, I feel like it's like, okay, this is the movie that I'm gonna get an Oscar from because it's like my mother was brutally raped and I have to come to terms,
Right.
or brutally murdered and I have to come to terms with my own sexuality, and like that's in her mind like the movie she's
while
in.
facing
and it's
like some, you know.
And she's right. Like it works so well because of it reminds me a little bit of Ellen Burstyn in The Exorcist too, where she's playing
Ugh.
this very grounded emotional performance.
Well,
But
that's
I
why
just
that movie
love-
works so well.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was I going to? I was going to say something just.
Yeah. Do we have anything else super important we want to hit? Because we
Beck.
covered
Okay,
a lot.
I'm looking through
Well,
minutes.
let's
Yeah.
I also met Jamie Kennedy, and I hope I can
Really?
find it. I have a picture because, like I said, I was obsessed with Sarah Michelle Gellar,
Yeah.
and for whatever reason, I'm from Miami. There was an event at a hotel, and Jamie Kennedy walked in, and David Boreanaz, and they were both Sarah Michelle Gellar adjacent, so that was very exciting for me. And I have a picture of me at 13 with Jamie
Going
Kennedy
like,
that I should find somewhere. Just being really happy.
Yeah.
I do with the breaking of the rules. I love that when they're having sex, it's like mixed with the sex scene in Halloween, and
Yeah.
they say obligatory tit shot, and then we don't have one.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm
Because
glad
it's
we
like,
don't
Oh
have
yeah,
one.
because
Purposely.
Stu comes in front of.
Billy.
Oh, sorry, Billy.
I love how that's shot too.
Yeah,
the
it's
way
really good.
Where she takes off her bra and he covers
He
it.
covers
It's so
it up.
natural and smooth, and it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like a cop out.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's so realistic.
I agree.
And that scene right afterwards when she kind of smiles to herself and she's like, "Who was your one phone call?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's like, "No, I'm just saying it would be clever, like if you had done that." He gets really close to her, and he says, what do I have to do to prove to you that I'm not the killer?
And then he comes behind him.
But before,
Yeah.
well, here's our thing. But right before that, she looks him in the face, and she goes, oh, my God. And then she looks back, and she goes, oh, my God. And I think in that moment, her first oh, my God is, you are the killer.
Yeah.
You think she realizes?
I do.
Until she's thrown off.
Like, her eyes make a different move of, like, oh, my God.
Yeah, that's
you really
true. It's
are
like, oh, my
it.
God.
Yeah.
And then,
And then she forgets about it because he dies right away.
Right.
Yeah.
Why do you think she brings up the phone call? Who do you think he did call?
He called her.
Yeah.
From prison?
Yeah, to throw her off.
Well, I think that's what they're trying to say. Yeah.
Oh,
but how?
I
But
thought...
then, like, where does he get?
Maybe
all
it
this
was still
stuff?
on him. I mean, we don't know.
I don't think... That's so interesting. I was here... I, for whatever reason, thought she meant... It would have been smart if you called me just to be like, hey, I miss you.
No, because somebody calls her that night.
No,
and
I
says, "You
remember.
arrested the wrong
But
guy."
I thought
That would
they
have been
would...
Stu.
Yeah, I
kinda
thought
feel.
that he would be observed.
Because maybe
and couldn't do it. I
maybe
would
Billy
think they would
maybe
see.
Billy did call.
You know what the thing is? These police are not great, and they are so trusting and lax, and they're not set up for this. It is possible that they were like, "Here's the phone in my office."
Yeah.
But, okay, but isn't her
Puts it
dad...
after
You
his
know
mouth.
what I mean?
Isn't
Yeah.
her dad... Isn't his dad there?
No.
Is that the dad or the lawyer?
It's his lawyer, his dad's
Oh.
lawyer. Because he goes, I called my dad, and she's like, no, the sheriff called your dad. I saw him. And he's like, yeah, but when I called, my dad didn't answer.
Oh, I thought he was... The sheriff got the dad in.
That was the lawyer, because the lawyer's like, don't say anything.
Do we
Yeah.
ever meet his dad?
No.
Okay, so here's where I'm going to say I think
Scream
it is
5.
his dad, is because that guy looked so familiar to me, and I looked him up. What's Billy's last name?
Loomis.
Yes, and this was the only other person credited as Loomis. There was another Loomis.
Well, he doesn't play it like his dad. He plays it like the lawyer.
Well, I thought his dad might be a lawyer.
Yeah, Hank Loomis.
I'm not... Yeah.
Yeah. There's no photo though. So
And Loomis is
Yeah.
is also a nod to Halloween.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dr. Loomis.
But yeah, I looked him up. I was like... Because I thought it was his dad, and I was like, he looks so familiar. How am I going to find which one he is? And so I searched Loomis.
Yeah, I always thought
he
he was
came
an
up.
attorney.
He might be both. I really did think
Hank
that.
Loomis, attorney at law.
Yeah, I was like, his dad's a
Ah.
lawyer. That was what I thought was
yeah,
happening.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the name of our podcast, he's right behind you.
Oh, it's so
Look
good.
behind you, Randy.
Yep,
Look
yep.
behind you.
Yep.
So Jessica,
That was really well done as well.
It's
the
so
whole
well
30-second delay
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
thing.
And that's
Yes.
where I got the idea for the name of this.
Oh,
I
really?
was about to say.
Is because he's like...
Look out, he's
right-
behind you. He's
I
right behind
thought-
you.
When we named it, I was like, I thought that he says he's right behind you, Jamie.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. He says right behind, like, look, he never
Yeah.
says he.
Look behind you.
I
Behind
know, and
you.
I was waiting for him to say he's right behind you, and I was like, he didn't say it.
It's close enough.
Aw.
I mean, when you came up with the name, I immediately thought of that scene. Does Kenny say he's right behind you?
Yeah.
He might. He might say the full name
No,
of our
he
podcast.
says,
He says something like, "Come on,
behind,
dude, behind
he
you,
says,
dude," or
behind
something.
you, kid.
Yeah, behind you,
Yeah.
kid.
Behind you, kid. I wrote it down. I was waiting to hear it.
I
But
love
Oh,
it.
that's
Behind you, kid.
scary. That's a great visual too. Is Kenny's blood on the windshield, and then
Well,
she
and
turns
the-
on the
Yeah, yeah.
the
The
wipers.
slit
And then
where
the
he turns his hand.
kind of
Mhm.
So who do you think killed Kenny? South Park.
South Park.
You bastards. But who do we think?
bastards.
I think Billy's still like
Pretending
hidden
to be dead?
upstairs. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I would.
Stu?
I think Stu.
Yep, yep.
But I do like
Yeah,
our
'cause
theory
Billy
that
doesn't-
Stu never kills anybody, and maybe it's always Billy.
Except that he has to fake kill Billy.
Yeah.
Right,
But he
that's
still
not
doesn't
a real
kill him.
kill. Yeah, exactly. It's not a kill.
Yeah.
God, that part where she's fuck you both and she locks the door, and then Billy comes hobbling down the stairs, and it's like, I remember falling for it
Yeah, me too.
and
Yeah.
being like, I just want them to be happy
Yeah.
together.
oh, romantic.
Yeah.
And he doesn't
I started
turn.
suspecting when he takes the gun off her. That's
Ugh.
when I was like,
You started suspecting like a second before.
No, I'm
Yeah.
just like,
But
well,
still,
I mean, like, when he comes
it
kind of
counts.
down, I'm kind of like, oh, shit, okay, he's still alive. But then he kind of gets up quite,
Give me the gun. Yeah.
like, after, like, being stabbed 10 times, he gets up quite okay. And then he give me the gun, and he unlocks the door, and then I'm like, watch out. There we go.
And his blood is all dried.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
It's
And there's
not,
no
like, still
wounds or
coming
Right.
anything
out.
like
He's
that.
not holding
Yeah.
like
Like,
a wound closed.
I couldn't remember how she figures it out, and I thought that was going to be it. I thought she was going to go to like put pressure on the wound and see there was one.
Yeah,
was
no, but she has
none.
to run away, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's that like turn of the head.
We
Yeah.
all go a little crazy sometimes.
Yeah, I'll go.
We all go a little mad.
A little mad.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
So I want to ask, you're a good-looking guy. You
Oh,
make
thank
your
you.
living as a good-looking guy.
Stop. I
No
thought this was about
challenge, that's
Scream.
Did this movie hurt good-looking guys everywhere when it turns out the good-looking guy was the killer?
No, not at all. No, I don't think so.
I feel like this movie made me trust good-looking guys less. Because I was like, oh,
well,
it's
you
what
should
Tatum
never
says,
you
it's a
should never
flaw.
trust good-looking guys anyway.
Never trust anyone.
Yeah,
They're too good
don't
to be
trust
true.
any guys.
I would have totally been attracted to Billy in high school because I would have been like,
He's
some
such a
pain
bad
under
boy.
there.
He's such a
There's
bad
some-
boy. Look at those bangs.
There's
Yeah.
some pain under those eyes, and I bet that I'm the only one that can fix him.
Yeah.
That would have been
Me
my
too.
trap.
100%.
Yeah.
I just love that part where he's like, my mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad are gonna be so mad at me.
It's really good. It's a
Him like
classic.
going
Yeah.
in between psychotic killer and like just the realism of like, you hit me with the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
I'm
it.
feeling a little woozy.
I feel a little woozy here.
Oh, I also love. Is it Tatum who says, "Don't go there, Sid"? You're starting to sound like some
Wes
Wes
Carpenter.
Carpenter flick.
Yeah.
That's a great line.
So, okay, which character do you most relate to at school? Like, who would you have
Oh,
been
I
at
would have
school?
been Sidney.
Okay, Sidney.
Me
Yeah,
too.
I was like
Yeah.
the super good nerdy girl.
Me too. Were you Billy?
I don't think I wasn't Billy. I was kind of more of a I wouldn't say nerdy, but I was like more the shy kind of guy
Were you Randy?
Oh fuck, I would have been Randy. I was like the film nerd.
Yeah, I wasn't a film nerd, but I don't know. Maybe I'm an amalgamation of a number of the characters.
Yeah.
I kind of feel.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I take that back. I would, now that I'm thinking about it, I would have totally been Randy. I would have been like hanging on to the cool people,
Yeah.
talking about films, lusting after somebody who didn't want me back. And when he's like, do you
That's
think,
probably everybody.
where he's like, do you think now that Billy mutilated Sidney that,
The way he laughs.
Yeah,
in his
he's like, do
maybe.
you think she'll go out with me?
Does the whole like, no,
But
definitely
the
no.
way
don't.
So good.
that Randy's like, is this my chance?
Yeah.
Is this?
What do you think?
Just trying to capitalize on her misfortune.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
can I wedge my way into this
Yes.
somehow?
So-
Question for you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
When Bill Withers, and Dewey kiss, do you think she's into him at that point, or is she still just using him?
I think she's
I think she's into him.
You both think
I
she's
think
into
she
him.
starts
I
to.
think it's the moment gets like carried. You know, you get carried away in the moment.
So when do you think it turns? Right then, for you?
I think. Wait, what do you mean?
Like when does?
No,
because she's
no,
definitely
I-
using him. At
No,
the
I
start.
think
Oh,
no,
yeah, she's using
I
him.
think
I
it's,
was
I think
24
it,
for a
I think
whole
it
year,
starts
he
there.
says.
It's
That's
when he
such a good line.
That line there, I was 24 for a whole year. I think that line.
You think
enam-
she's into him?
I
then?
think enamors
Yeah.
her to him.
I
Yeah,
think-
because you
I
see
think
her
that's a
reaction. It's
genuine
like she
smile.
kind of smiles and like, "Call me." No,
I
like
thought
call
it-
me Gail.
I thought she was smiling because here's my in.
Oh, I think at first with the
I
whole
feel
like,
like it
oh yes,
flatters
like
her.
upper body and all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. I think that's her. But then when he kind of turns around and is quite charming with that line,
is
I
really
think that's when
charming
she's
there.
like, oh, like you know.
But
so
I also
adorable
he's
in that
such
moment.
he's a red herring too, because when he's like he gets the flashlight and he's like, you want to go for a walk or like
Yeah.
whatever he says, and he's like all weird when he comes to her at the van and like you know, like trying to get her alone in the woods.
Yeah.
To where like you can tell that it's like, wait, is he gonna?
I also
kill
love
her
that she's
too?
not scared. He's like, "You want to walk? It's such a nice night." Unless you're scared, and she's like, he goes, "Or are you scared?" She says, "No, I would be fucking scared."
Yeah.
Why aren't
She's
you scared?
trying to win a Pulitzer.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Wait, so when do you think she turns? You think it's in that moment, not earlier?
Well, I think she likes him in that moment, but I think like as we see, and maybe it's because I've seen other Scream movies, is like she is using him and stuff, but
Yeah.
I think she's fighting her attraction to him also.
Yeah.
Like she gets kind of caught up in the moment, and then I think later is like, "What? No, I never liked you. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
I
What
was
are
just
you
using you."
talking- Who?
Oh, go
I was just who would you have been attracted to in high school?
Billy.
Billy.
Probably Billy and Stu.
Sure.
No, Stu would have been too cool for me.
Mm.
Because he was like, you can tell that he's like the popular guy in school. He's the one who's hosting the party that everybody
Right.
goes to. I would have been into like the dark,
Dark,
kind of-
broody, kind
yeah,
of.
Oh God, brooding.
You're
I love.
damaged.
I would
It's
have
so
been,
funny that I say this because if you met my husband, he's like
He's Stu.
the opposite of all these people. He's like Andy Griffith. Like,
But this is high school, and we're going through things
You
in
know
high
what's weird?
school.
I have two people that I had crushes on in high school, and fully one of them is the Billy character and one of them is the Stu character. And then I did get that like high school satisfaction of making out with them both post high school.
Yeah.
And it was such a victory. I remember Gabby was like, "You took one for the team," like because it was one of them. There was that dark one that all of us had a crush on, and all of us were like, "I'm the only
God,
one."
why is that? Why is it that it's like this thing that girls are taught is like, it's going to be really special because you're going to be the one that fixes them.
Right.
It's like, ugh, God, it's
never gonna happen,
not supposed to be that way.
Never gonna happen.
He was a drummer, obviously.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
wanted
of
to
course,
add that,
of course. It was
course
kind
he
of
was in
funny.
a band.
I had a mad crush on Famke
Oh,
Jensen.
yeah.
Is it Famke Jensen or Famke Jensen?
I
don't know, but
we're in
she's
America,
beautiful.
so I feel like it's Jensen.
Yeah, Famke Jensen. And my first ever kiss was with a girl who looked like her, and I was like,
Ooh.
"What?"
I hit the lottery.
It was like,
Or hit the jackpot, won
yeah,
the lottery.
Won the lottery, hit the jackpot.
Are you a Tatum or are you
I
a
would have been
Sidney?
Tatum.
Wow.
Tatum. I would have been Tatum. But I think being a randy...
Or Courtney. We shouldn't rule out Gail Weathers of the three.
Oh, Courtney would have appealed because she
Yeah.
was an older woman.
Mm-hmm.
But
A professional.
a professional older woman. Yeah, she knew what she wanted.
But Tatum was...
Tatum just from a young horny boy, and she just seems like the
Oh,
kind of
she's
girl
so
that would be
hot.
like, oh my
She's
god,
so hot.
and
She's
she's
so
and
hot,
she was
and
confident as
she's
well.
like got her
She was sexually
lollipop through
confident.
some of it.
Yeah, and she had the little piggy tails and all
Oh,
that sort
yeah.
of
Oh,
stuff.
you like the pigtails?
I'm not going there.
Oh, but they're like sexy pigtails because they're braids.
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
like
yeah.
up high on the head.
Right,
Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah,
It's
that's
like,
true.
It's like I'm still young enough that I could pull off like that kind, but I
Right.
Yeah.
couldn't pull off
Pull
like,
off the long
two
kind of,
like,
on my head.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, it's just like the confidence that she
Yeah.
exuded, I think, was what would have been appealing.
Well, and I love later when people are leaving, they say to Stu, like, "What happened to Tatum?" And he's like, "Oh, she probably got pissed at me and left."
Yeah.
And it's like,
It's
that's
so callous for...
But
there's a
everyone-
murderer on the loose.
well, and we know that he knows that she's dead
Right,
at that
right.
point.
Yeah.
But the idea that everyone is like, yeah, that adds up. It's like, oh, that's who Tatum is. I
Right.
love
Okay.
it. And Tatum's like,
Yeah.
fuck this, and just leaves without saying anything.
Oh, that
I
Tatum.
wonder if straight men have any of what we have. Because, I'm a little on the spectrum of sexuality, and I'm like, I mean, they're both smoking. And then, of course, Casey and,
Go on.
and Gail. But I'm like, I feel like I'm into Sidney more for the same reason. Because I'm like, oh, she's wounded and damaged, and I just want to take
Really?
care of her. Do you have that at all, where you're like, she's just suffered, and I could make her happy?
Oh, if with a girl?
Yeah, well, like that
Oh
sense
yeah, are
in
you
watching
into
Scream.
like her, like girls that are damaged? And
Yeah, like
hurt?
her
Do you
pain,
have
does
that
that-
feeling,
Yeah.
that need to be the one that fixes it. What is that?
Not necessarily. This is going to sound
More
horrible.
of a feminine thing, but I
I
wonder.
wonder if it's like a motherly thing.
Yeah.
It could be that. Like, I do know of guys. What they do is this thing. What I've nicknamed Shawshanking, which is the Shawshank Redemption. You just slowly chip away over 20 years to
Yeah.
like for your moment to like, oh yes. I do know that guys. This is going to sound horrible. Like the wounded girl is easy prey.
Oh
Right,
yeah, to
that's
have
a
sex
thing,
with.
yeah.
Yeah. But.
And then there's that other cliche that like crazy girls are crazy in bed.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're like, oh, get away from me. No, I do know, like,
But there's no part of you that's like, oh, come to me and have Campbell all.
no, like, I've never, I like, there are girls who I like to, like, I'm like, have conversations with and like offer advice and things like that, but it's never to get them into bed.
Right.
It's just kind of, there's this kind of feeling of like, I enjoy, like you talking and being honest with me and all that sort of stuff. This is getting really deep, isn't it? But not as in like, I'm going to fix you. And there's not that kind of like, that's why I'm attracted to you.
Yeah.
At least I
feel
don't
like
think so.
There's a thing for
Yeah,
women where like, I don't know how to explain it, but it feels like we're taught to believe that like you have to be special.
Yeah.
And I feel like that plays into it because you're like, I'm the one.
Yeah.
Like, I just watched Bachelor in Paradise, and there's a contestant. That's where old contestants
Perfect
come
example
back.
of.
But there was one contestant who had been on like 6 times or whatever, and this girl who was her first time, she had said like, I think I'm the one that's gonna capture his heart, and it was
Right.
like, even though it's reality and it's whatever, I was like, oh, fuck.
Mhm.
You're not. That's not who you should be. It's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how old or whatever. It's like you keep seeing that of these women that are
Right.
like, I'm the special one.
It's like what should ideally happen in a relationship is two whole functional people come together, as opposed to one functional person rescues the dysfunctional person.
Yeah.
Rescues is a great word for
Yeah.
it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
shouldn't have to rescue somebody.
But also, like, if there's that, like, where does that need to, I need to
fix you.
I think-
come from? Because that's a personal thing. It's got nothing to do with the other person.
Right.
It's got something to do with you. So
Yeah.
where is
You're right,
that
it's a
coming from?
selfish thing.
Where is that
Yeah.
coming from?
I
Like,
think
is there a hole
Jessica-
that you need to fill?
Hit the nail on the head. It's that wanting to be special.
Yeah.
If I'm the person who can fix this person, if I
Yeah.
can save them, then I'm special.
But then once you save them, does that then mean, oh,
You know,
bye?
I feel
You know what?
like-
We never get that far in these movies.
Exactly. That's what I was going
Yes.
to say.
Are we,
And I
are we talking about movies or real life right now?
Well, and
Yeah.
you never
Totally.
actually save these people, so we don't get
Yeah.
that far in the narrative.
I mean, the thing is, I mean, can you even save someone?
I don't.
I mean,
think
it's up.
So.
I mean, maybe you can push them in the right direction, but it's
That's what Sidney, I think, needed to do in this is like when he's trying to pressure her for sex and say, "Get over it." I
Yeah.
feel like she needed to be like, "I just really need time
yeah.
where you don't say this to me.
Right.
Yeah.
It hurts my feelings when you say
Just
I should
almost
get
got
over it."
murdered.
But instead, and I get it, because you get told something enough and you feel like a freak. And also, she's been through something so devastating and traumatic that she feels like a freak anyway.
Yeah.
So the logic part of her brain is going, oh, you're the messed up one. You need to cater to him
And
because
she
this is
doesn't
how the
have a
world
lot of
works.
people to hold on to because her dad's
Right.
gone.
Yeah. Tatum's the only one.
Tatum's there, and Billy loves her, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
Does
Yeah.
does he?
But
No.
you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah, but no. But I mean,
like
do you
in a-
think Billy actually loved her?
no.
Do you think he told her that he loved her? Do you think they've said I love you to each
Or do you
other?
think this was just purely ever since Maureen Prescott slept with his mother? This is what I'm going to do to you. Maybe
Well,
not
they were
murder, but I'm
definitely-
going to.
They were definitely
Mhm.
Be in
dating
your life.
before that happened because he says 2 years ago we were hot and heavy, which I thought was interesting.
And then the
Mhm.
mother
Because the
came.
mother
the
was
shit
killed a
happened
year
with
ago.
the mother.
So that
Right.
establishes that they were already dating and physical for a while before the mother died.
Maybe. I mean, this is kind of interesting. Like, he is pissed off that she no longer kind of. Like, maybe the relationship has changed because she no longer, like, hot and heavy in the beginning, and he loved that. He was falling in love with that. And then this whole incident happened with her mother, and then the relationship changed. Maybe she was falling out of love with him or wasn't in love with him anymore, and that is what angered him and pissed him off. And for him, maybe the fact that she was so hot and heavy with him, in his mind, was an indication that she loved him. And so therefore that wasn't happening anymore. Therefore she didn't love him anymore. And that maybe started to, I don't know.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next week on Dr. Phil.
Yeah, I like that take. I like that we have so many theories. We
I
were
know.
real
And then we
deep-
go and talk to Kevin. He's like, what? No, none of that happened. I just wrote that in because I needed that scene.
Sydney in the other three Screams?
Yes, she is.
Whoa, cool.
Is she,
So
is she in the
is-
third? Yes? Yeah.
Sydney and Dewey and
Dewey and
Gail are
Gail.
in every Scream.
I remember that Jamie Kennedy's in the next one, but I don't remember. How much longer? Don't tell me because I'll watch them. I don't
Yeah,
know.
Well,
haven't
those
seen-
are
you
the
haven't
ones
seen the
that are in
second
all
one?
4.
Right. No, I got that. But I don't know if he dies in 2 or 3.
I was going to say something and I shouldn't say it.
I just vaguely remember a scene of him outside of a van, I think in Scream 2.
Got a little knife happy.
Yeah, you mentioned that last week.
I know. I always love that. I think about that all the time, that line.
Got a little
Got a
knife
knife
Watch
happy.
that shot of the sun again because it's so Exorcist. I think it's
No,
a
I know what you're
deliberate-
talking about, totally.
I think it's like on purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like everything on this movie is on purpose. I
Yeah.
wouldn't
Yeah.
be surprised.
Yeah,
Well, see, I guess it's like
a lot of
all
references
of
to
Jordan Peele stuff now is just reference,
Yeah.
reference, and all that sort of
and Tarantino is that way.
Mhm.
All right, we kind of meandered and repeated some points, so I think we hit it all.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think so. We spoke about, like, relationships.
We're
and-
alternating who edits them, so this one's on Jessica.
Uh,
so
So
you'll
guys,
have
we got to
that
wrap
fun-
it up.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being a guest.
No, thank you,
were
for inviting me.
wonderful.
This was a lot of fun. I very much enjoy talking about movies,
Yeah, this
especially
was a
Scream.
blast. Do you want to promote your podcast? You want to promote anything else?
Yeah, let's promote my podcast. So I do a podcast called Romy and Dan's High School Reunion Podcast.
Love
it's
it.
available
Great
on
name.
Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, all these other, and we just chat with various people from various industries about their lives and, what makes them successful. And then we also just shoot the shit, basically. So have a listen. And
if you want to Google Daniel Feuerriegel, you'll see a lot of shirtless photos.
Yes. I did a television show a little while ago where we had to be half naked virtually the whole time. And I do have a sex scene on YouTube.
With a man?
Yes, I do, with a man.
All right.
Yeah. So enjoy,
I know what I'm doing after this.
So if you're doing a lot of shirtless scenes, was there like so much exercising and prep for that?
There was a brutal amount of exercise. Before every season, we did, I think, 4 hours a day for 4 weeks.
Jesus.
Every day.
Wow.
Had the weekends off. And they tanned us all up. We're all half naked but halfway through the show, you just completely forget that everybody's showing their shit.
Right, it becomes your costume.
Yeah,
almost.
it becomes a costume.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the end, because you're so exhausted, we were just getting our abs shaded on.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because we just stuff it. I'm just going to eat whatever this food
That's
is.
what I
this
need.
food is. all
I need that
sort
when
of
I go to the beach.
And I remember coming and somebody
Where did you shoot?
We shot in New Zealand.
Awesome.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
What a dream.
Yeah, it was in the so it wasn't in the Lord of the Rings part. It was in Auckland, so northern.
That's my number one place I want to visit in my life before I die is New Zealand.
Lord of the Rings.
Amazing.
Not Lord of the Rings. I'm not a fan.
I mean, it looks like that. It's
Yeah.
gorgeous, beautiful. The southern island is where all the beautiful ice-capped mountains are and all that sort of stuff.
That's so cool.
And
Yeah.
I'd love to get paid to go
Me
to New Zealand.
too.
Yeah.
Do you have Twitter, Instagram?
I do. My Instagram is, what is it? The Dan Feuerriegel, Feuerriegel. My Twitter is @DG Feuerriegel, and my Facebook is Dan Feuerriegel. Yes.
Great.
Yes, that's
And
it.
Yeah, and maybe you can come back for one of the other screams.
Oh, that would be
I would
great.
love to. Yeah, I'd love to come back and
See
chat
where the
about any horror
characters
film or
are.
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was so fun.
Yeah.
It's
See
so
if you
nice
can
to
track
see you.
them.
I mean,
Track
and
the
I
progress.
hadn't. I guess we didn't. It doesn't really matter, but I feel like it's worth saying because I hadn't seen you in 5 years.
It has been a long time because we worked together on
Yeah.
a web series that you created.
That's right.
That's
I
right.
I co-created and co-starred in a series that let me quit my day job and become an artist, and then it never aired. They
What?
put a
No,
lot
it-
of money into it.
It
No.
it aired in Australia.
That's right. It did air in
It did. It
Australia,
was
but
on
not
like
in
a-
the States. I'll
Fine.
send you the episode if you want to
Yeah,
watch
send
it.
Yeah.
He's really great in it.
I
It's
will
really
not
fun.
put it on YouTube.
I mean, I hope you do.
As if I would know how to do that. I'm constantly, she sends me things. She's like, can you do this? And then I immediately respond, I don't know what those words mean.
Yeah.
Do if you're copying and pasting something, what do you do?
Fuck you.
What do you do? No, I just want to know.
What do you mean copying and
Genuinely.
pasting? Copy and pasting what?
If you're going to copy and paste like a text, how do you do it?
Well, you press the whatever the bubble text it is and copy and.
Oh,
whatever
that's
this
on
or-
your phone. Okay,
Yeah.
on your computer.
Oh, if it's a Mac,
She
maybe.
wants you to say that you use a shortcut.
Well, do you? I don't know. I want to find out.
No, I mean you can either go up and use the little.
Do you do
edit
that?
And all that stuff. I've done that before.
Okay,
Or,
okay.
That's what I do.
or
I
it's
just
like
thought I was
I think it's
crazy.
like Control C.
That's what I was
or
finding
something.
out. Yeah.
Control C and all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff.
I was showing her with editing stuff. I was like, look here, you just do Control C, Control V like
And
you
she's
would
like,
with a text. She's like, what?
My
I was like, I
life.
don't do that.
She just had no. She was like, what? I was like,
And you
you
know
know,
what?
the same way you would with a text. She's like, no.
Well,
I still don't do that.
I still. That's where I think
Technology is not my friend, guys. It's a fad. It's going to go away any day now. There's
It
no
is.
point in learning.
nothing's happening.
Thank you so much for being a guest.
No, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for listening, and rate, review, subscribe on
Yeah.
iTunes. We're on Instagram at He's Right Behind You Podcast. Is that right? He's Right Behind You Podcast?
Yeah. He's right behind
And
you podcast.
if you go on there every day in the month of October, I will be posting in the stories which movie I'm watching because I will watch one movie a day for
That's a lot of-
31 days
It's a lot of films.
for Halloween.
All horror.
Yeah, 31 scary movies in 31 days.
Let me know what you're watching as you're watching, because maybe I can join you for some and we can do mini-sodes or something.
Yeah, and I've been doing that for 8 years.
Watching a horror film every day.
For October.
Oh, I was going to
31.
say, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, guys, I gotta cut this short. I gotta get my movie in.
Yeah.
The rest of
No,
your
I've done
life?
that for 8 years now of like
That's
31
awesome.
scary movies in 31 days. Because I started doing it because I always felt like Halloween went by so fast. It's like
Yeah.
the last day and then it's over.
Yeah,
And I really wanted to drag it out painfully.
totally. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is a 4-hour-long podcast. Thank you for listening.
It's a scream.
It's a scream, baby.
Your mother sucks cocks in hell.
Wrong movie.
but I like it. Oh my god, no, we are recording. I was like, did I not record any of that?